Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin, Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
A football note before I start into some basketball talk. SEC teams that A&M has beat are combined 4-14 in conference play. Big smile for you. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan. I saw you shaking your head, almost laughing and in disgust at the same time.
Yeah, next they get Mississippi State. And what's their record in
It's not good.
in conference play?
Not good.
Have they won a conference
I don't
game?
believe they have.
Yeah. So it's
What is it?
1-5.
1-5, sorry.
Who'd they beat?
Was it Arkansas 7-0, I believe it was.
7-3, that's
7-3.
right.
Yeah, they
7-3.
beat Arkansas 7-3.
Hey, I got something I'm going to throw in before we get started.
Go ahead.
To make it.
Somebody you met at HEB?
Actually, it was somebody I met at the airport in Memphis.
Okay.
Huge TexAgs fan.
Okay.
Roland Garcia.
¿Qué pasó, Roland?
So thank you, Roland.
I just assume he speaks Spanish.
Well, I would assume so too. And he's such a TexAgger that his wife Rosie said that she was thinking about getting the TexAgs logo tattooed across her forehead. So
I wouldn't recommend that.
So he would pay as much attention to her as he does TexAgs. And I told her, I said, well, that's a great idea, but I've been trying to get Irma to get the TexAgs tattooed like a tramp stamp. The TexAgs logo right there on the tramp stamp.
Are we allowed to say that?
Tramp stamp?
Yeah.
Why not?
What was that word again?
Tramp stamp.
Okay.
The TexAgs
Just making
logo.
sure we could say it. I didn't know if we could.
Yeah. She wouldn't go for it, so I called her a 2%er. She reminded me that she didn't go to A&M.
She's
and
a
that
Cal
she went to,
lady.
Yeah, and I said, well, you don't act like you went to Cal. I mean, you vote conservatively and you shave your legs.
Well, Roland, you said it was his name?
Roland and Rosie.
Roland and Rosie, thank you so much for being loyal listeners and viewers of the program, even during the tough times. I know it's tough.
Yes, if you can be a great fan now, you can be a great fan all the time.
Well, it's a weird place to be in, buddy, because where can you find hope for the future? Connor. But that was the hope last year, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
But then every quarterback's gotten hurt. So that's the unfortunate part. Now I understand talent. I don't care. I just care about results, buddy.
It's true. It's just, all that really matters ultimately is, did you win or lose? And if A&M finishes 7-5, like most of us kind of project,
yep,
then they will have completed another year without winning a true road game, and they will be 12-12 over a 2-year period,
and no signature win, not one.
And then you say, well, if you can't win with the guys from the 2022 recruiting class, well, what are you going to do if recruiting slips? So is
it an if? If this, I mean, he's always recruited at a high level,
yes,
always. But how high of a level can you recruit after back-to-back?
Well, did they recruit at a high level last year?
High-ish, right?
Top 20?
Yeah.
Wasn't top 10, was it?
No, but I mean, considering going 5-7, I thought it was pretty good.
Right.
But
see, that's what comes with bad years.
And the guys that they did get, I feel like they hit a home run with Torrey and York, right?
Without a doubt.
So
without a doubt.
So look, I know to play the game you need the 5 stars. But to really play the game, you got to win games, right? Like you've got to win on the field, because the other stuff, whatever. Like cool.
I think to be perfectly honest, what I'm concerned about the future, and you know what, it may not be this, it may not happen, but here's what I'm worried about, because you're struggling. All right, the reason I just said, if you can't win with these guys, what is it going to be if the talent level starts depleted? Well, I'm concerned, and again, I'm hoping that this won't be the issue. I'm concerned that there's going to be an exodus of players, good players from this team that says, you know what, it ain't working here. I'm going to, and then I'm concerned that in turn that the recruiting is going to suffer, and that you'll see the recruiting class unravel, at least to a certain degree. I'm worried about that. And then what do you go into? What happens in the next 2 or 3 years?
Okay, so that's one scenario. What if?
Okay, let's play what if.
What if? And people hate when I do what if when we're in misery, but you like when I do it when we're winning. All right, so let's flip it for a second. What if they win out?
Okay, then if they win out, you're 8-4,
and you win a bowl game.
Okay.
Which again, most of us aren't seeing that path, but let's just discuss it out loud, because that's what we do here on the show. We examine layers.
Well, if you went out and win a bowl game, you're 9-4. And maybe that salvages things, because then you can sell to your players. Look, we went 9-4, and we took Alabama to the end, we took Tennessee to the end, and we took Ole Miss to the end, and we did it, with a lot of without our starting quarterback.
But you can also say you did that in 2022.
I know, but I'm saying that's what you got to sell, and you hope the kids don't remember 2022. But you sell the people on your team. This is why you stay, because look at how close we are, and then you tell your recruits, this is why you come here.
And then, what do you tell about? Well, what about your quarterbacks that keep getting hurt? And before you give me that answer, let's hear what Jimbo Fisher had to say about that question, because I asked him, I was like, there's been 5 basic quarterbacks that have gone down for the year in the last 2.5 years. Here's Jimbo yesterday.
Guys get banged up. I mean, a couple of our guys have gotten hurt on quarterback sneaks. I mean, so let alone on getting hit in the pocket. I mean, some of the things, we've had a toe. We had a turf toe last year he bent his toe. He was running and stuck his toe in the ground and got a turf toe. This year we had an ankle. He went to step up, and the lineman came through, and he stepped and hit an ankle. Max hit his thumb on a helmet. I mean, some of them are not good accidents. You get hit, you want nobody around your quarterback, but in today's game, that's an unrealistic thing. But you broke a thumb. Last year, Max, on a follow-through, hit a helmet. Haynes turned his turf toe, which blew up, and we were stepping up to throw, and the guy hit Connor in the ankle. I mean, that was as much as anything. So, and the year before, Haynes was running in the open field. The one at Colorado, he wasn't getting hit in the pocket. He broke a run and scrambled out and was running and stuck his foot in the ground and got hit in space. I mean, some of it's freak accidents as much as anything. And it's unfortunate luck. Like I say, I've never had that happen before in my life, but it's bitten us here, so hopefully we can get through it.
So everything he said there he's not lying. So like that is fact. I think my point is
he lost his starting quarterback in his last year at Florida State as well.
That's all right. So the accumulation of our quarterbacks taking hits, that is a fact. That happens. If the actual injury, a couple of those didn't happen on, because of protection, okay. But we've all seen A&M near the bottom of the country, or top of the country, however you want to phrase it, of quarterbacks getting hit, pressured over the last couple of years.
I think at least in my mind, what comes from that is get me a quarterback who can run, who can really run. If he's not a big guy for a quarterback, and I'm not talking about the 6'6" lumbering guys. I'm talking about you're not Jalen Milroe, a guy from Katy that wanted to come here, right? But you went with Les Stowers instead. But that kind of guy, and if he's a slight guy like Jaden Daniels, can run and tell him to get down. Like, of course, here that wouldn't be well received because that's what Kyler Murray did, and all the people call him Slider, even though that's exactly what he should do. But you can't have, you just got to have a more mobile quarterback behind the offensive lines that they're typically putting out there.
Yeah.
Typically.
We're going to talk more football throughout the hour, but I feel like we need to give Aggie basketball a little bit of time because so we had
opened the season last night with an easy win.
Yeah, we had Tom Schuberth in the studio, I don't know, a week or two ago, Coach Tom. He's like, Hayden Hefner's put on some strength. He did look a little bigger. Was hitting some shots.
He hit a lot of shots.
Yeah.
I think it was 7 of 10.
Yeah. Wade does this thing. They played a lot of guys. They did exactly what they needed to do. Solo looked good.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Eli Lawrence coming off the bench. He had 11 points in 8 minutes at one point.
Yep.
At one point. Just boom, boom, boom.
Jace Carter.
Jace Carter played well. He showed why they brought him in. So here's the thing. All right, first of all, we knew they were going to win, right? It was Commerce. You're going to beat those guys.
Yes.
Everything's going to be harder in the next 2 games, and that's fine. And I expect them to win the next 2 games because they're that good. And, Wade Taylor played really well. Golly, he showed you why he's considered one of the best players in the country, and he wasn't even trying, really. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was trying, but he didn't have to take over a game or anything like that. That's what I mean. And I hope what we saw from Hayden Hefner was him breaking out. But he's going to have to prove it over the long term because he once scored 17 points against Missouri. I know guys up in Arkansas that are think he's like a great player because they don't see him all the time. They see him when he plays Arkansas, and he's killed Arkansas.
Yep.
He's like Edgerrin Cooper. He's a hog hunting Hayden Hefner.
Okay, sorry, basketball. I'm glad you said that.
Oh, Edgerrin Cooper, ridiculous. Butkus Award.
Not even a semifinalist?
I mean, stupid. It's
just stupid.
It goes to show that it's kind of like that year when the Mackey Award didn't have Jay Sternberger as a finalist. You wonder about who the people are. Well, I know that they're a select group of reporters because I've been on some of those things like the Blitnikoff and finally gave it up, and the only one I do is the Heisman now. But that they'll decide, they'll vote from time to time, and if you're not paying attention. And right now, A&M's an easy team nationally not to pay attention to. But it's a travesty.
If you're not winning, it hurts you. Like at the end of the day, if you're not winning, you're not going to get the attention, and people aren't going to take your stats serious. But I'm looking at these numbers right now. He's forced 2 fumbles. He's got 7 sacks, 59 tackles.
Look at his tackles for loss ranked among the nation leaders. Call up the national leaders in tackles for loss.
Luke, look that up for us, buddy.
Just go to CFBstats.com.
Mm-hmm.
Click on national, click on tackles for loss, and tell me where Edgerrin Cooper is.
As he looks that up, we'll continue to talk about it.
Well, I can tell y'all right now he ranks number 1 in linebackers in the country. No other linebacker has more than 14, and he has 16. I don't know where that ranks nationally, but with linebackers,
well, I've got it here. Tackles
1.
for loss. Number 1 in the nation is the guy from James Madison, defensive lineman, who just got hurt, so he's out for the year. Number 5, Edgerrin Cooper. 5th in the nation in tackles for loss with 16.
It's pretty darn good, buddy.
And you know what? As a linebacker, he's the number 1 guy from a Power 5 conference.
He's the number 1 guy.
From the Power 5. Because I mentioned a guy from James Madison. Looks like somebody's from Old Dominion. Somebody's from another guy from James Madison. And then somebody's from UCF. And then there's a defensive lineman from UCLA who has also 16. But he's a defensive lineman. So
and by the way, I don't even think you need to look at the stats.
And look at who they play.
Absolutely. I don't think you need to look at the stats, although the stats tell a huge story. Use your eyes. The guy stands out in every game. Every announcing crew that's out there talks about Edge Cooper. Every game he makes these, there's an Edge Cooper play. Every game. That's enough. It is ridiculous. And by the way, I get it. There's a group of reporters that get invited to vote on these things, and it depends on how serious they take it.
Right.
And if they got guys in the Southwest that are watching these games, or Southeast, I should say, that are watching these games or not, that plays a role. Bias plays a role. But all you have to do is look at these stats and just watch him play one game. You're like, oh, he's one of the best linebackers. And by the way, it's all over social media.
Well, let's see where he, unfortunately he'll be in the draft, and let's see where he gets taken because it'll be funny. I kind of think of him the way an LSU guy in 2019. Did you remember anybody ever thinking about Patrick Queen before 2019, and then boom, blew up and was a first-round pick, and it might be a similar situation with Edgerrin Cooper.
If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it. You can be upset about Edge Cooper. You can be upset about Aggie football. You can be happy about Aggie basketball. How about that? Lots to talk about. 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. If you do call the Brian Foley Law hotline, we'll get you on. Good people can have a bad day. Call Brian Foley Law, 936-596-0407. Serving Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, and the Brazos Valley. We go behind the glass, and we say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, I know you said a couple words, but how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. How are y'all this morning?
Good.
I'm great. One more stat about Edge Cooper to make y'all mad, then we'll move on from it. He's also number 2 in all Power 5 linebackers in sacks. So there's another one.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the country in sacks.
And Power 5. So this guy is not worthy of being in the top 12, is it? I mean, again.
I demand a revote. Sorry.
I lost all faith in all of these back in 1993 when Aaron Glenn did not win the Thorpe Award. And and they went with Antonio Langham. You know what? He's from Alabama.
Yeah.
And all you had to do is watch Aaron Glenn and say, man, there's nobody better than him. And I think if you'll look at their NFL careers, that was proven.
By the way, I felt like when I said I demand a revote, something that happened on Seinfeld, but I don't think that line ever happened. But I feel like whenever the Seinfelds moved to Lake, where did they move to? To the place in Florida where the retirement community.
Yeah.
I think there was a vote for the president of the community.
Oh, yeah.
I demand a revote, Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Good morning.
Good morning, buddy. How's the beach?
It was really good.
Good.
Yep, just got back actually and didn't have time to change, so I'm wearing the shorts and a t-shirt to work.
No, you look good, buddy. I just like to give you a hard time because one time you gave me a hard time.
Well, wait, hold on. What color shirt are you wearing?
It's gray.
Oh, goodness. All right, well, I'll in another segment, I'll come up with something funny to say about you, and we can start that bit all over again.
No, it's all right. It won't work out well for you.
I don't know about that. Anyways, you know what will work out well for A&M?
Wins?
Hopefully the basketball team. Great segue there.
Great segue. That's maybe your best work.
Honestly, I think it was. Yeah, we were at the game yesterday. Loved what I saw from the team. Need to see a little bit more from the front court with Henry Coleman. Just 1 point, and then Wildens Levesque just 4. The guard play was terrific. We've talked about it with Wade and Boots and Hayden, but I think going forward, this team needs just a little bit more. The small lineup was looking really athletic with Solo and Andy, but I think when you see bigger teams come into Reed Arena, you're going to need to see more from those big-time players.
That's true, but they didn't ask them to do much last night.
Yeah,
I saw Henry Coleman got a rebound while sitting down, and I thought that was that's when you're having a good day, when you can get a rebound without jumping, but without being on your feet.
You know what though? It's after this cloud of negativity of football that has been going on for the last month, other than a bye week in South Carolina, right? It's felt
last month.
Yeah, so the last month. It is nice to have something that like we can have faith in, believe in at the moment, right?
I do.
Because what we believe in when it comes to Aggie football, A, didn't come to fruition from what we thought initially, and B, it's just like we kind of know how that story goes.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We watch Buzz's teams, and hopefully this year will be different in that they don't take a couple of early losses that you don't expect, but because they're working on things that are going to make them better. Maybe they'll just do the things that will make them better later, and they'll still win.
Yep.
But Buzz's teams have a history of getting better as the season goes along.
I like that. I like the way that sounds.
And A&M football, except for a couple of years, typically gets to November, and if you're not already irrelevant, you become irrelevant.
Let's get one more message in there. Luke, if you don't mind, Cat D11Ag on the TexAgs chat asked me a question. I don't know if you have that open, but if you do.
I do not have the TexAgs chat
then I'll read it. I'll
open.
pretend like I'm Luke.
Yep.
David, and this is for both of us. If they win out, does this translate to being able to keep CW, Ruben, Evan, Le'Veon, et cetera, on the roster? We know the Vultures are circling. Is 8-4 enough to fend them off? I don't know. Every person's different.
Right. We don't know.
But it sure sounds better than 7-5.
But see, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the Vultures. I'm worried about the Buzzards. I mean, they're not on the ground yet, but they're circling. They're kind of waiting for the body to stop twitching.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you win, the more twitch, right? The more signs of life, the more it keeps them away. And again, I don't know. Maybe it won't happen. I know there was a lot of guys they lost last year, but for the vast majority of them, maybe all of them, you really didn't care. And you look at what they're doing now,
right?
And they're really not doing anything. I mean, the big loss is Chris Marshall. I don't know where he is now. He must be at Last Chance U. Tumisi Adeli, he's already been kicked off, I think, or if not kicked off, left Michigan State. Denver Harris is in the doghouse at LSU. I mean, with all the secondary issues they have, and I think he's been inactive. He's not active within the team for a while, so it sounds like he's been. So you can go down. Anthony Lucas isn't doing a whole lot at USC. You can go down the list of guys you lost, and it really didn't matter. So what I do worry about. So maybe that'll be you're going to lose some guys. You're always going to lose it, but maybe it's going to be the guys that don't matter. But if you can keep Connor Wigman and Ruben Owens and Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss and Evan Stewart, Noah Thomas, Cam Dewberry, Walter Nolan, Gabriel Download Dindy, LT Overton, go on and on. Bryce Anderson. If you can keep all those guys, then at least on paper, because the coaching has kept it from coming to fruition on the field, but on paper, you look like you could have a team capable of challenging for a championship.
Capable.
Well, look, it's not that. You know why the Buzzards are circling? Because A&M has great talent. You can't. So where does if blame's not the right word, where is the explanation? Where is the disconnect? If A&M has talent that everybody else wants, and they have facilities that everybody envies, and they have geographical advantages that most teams don't have, and yet you still are struggling to put out a winning season, where is the disconnect?
Yeah. All right, let's hit a break here. I thought at a moment during the press conference yesterday, you're going to ask the head coach if he had gone to Fargo's recently, because I think it would probably, a little stress-free.
Well, you know what? That would be a good decision.
It would be.
I think the whole coaching staff should go.
I don't know if it's going to fix, some of the issues, but it'll feel better, and then they'll go to work on a better attitude. They'll probably take more naps.
Well, yeah, I think they've taken enough. But, you can never get enough rib tips from Fargo's. So today I would encourage everybody, and particularly the coaching staff, to call early, reserve your pint of rib tips, and enjoy. We need stuff to enjoy around here this football season. That's something that you can absolutely enjoy, and it'll never let you down.
You know what it is? It's very similar if we did our linebacker rankings to what one of our players would be for the rankings of barbecue. Absolutely. They're the top notch. You got the top notch linebacker, top notch barbecue.
It's the Edger and Cooper of barbecue. Yeah. Especially the rib tips, but you know what? They got other things. If you just don't feel like, or you get there too late, like I did once, and I said, "Well, hey, give me the chopped beef on a bun," and it was spectacular.
Spectacular. One of the top 50 barbecue joints in the world, according to Texas Monthly. It is 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the
best barbecue in Texas, i.e., the world.
You know that's your trademark.
Well, it's true.
No, it's true. It's Fargo's. Blame the radio guys. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. People get mad. And I had a conversation with actually one guy in particular yesterday, who didn't think we were pressing Jimbo enough. And then we had a conversation on the phone, not a physical. People when I said, I'd love to meet you sometime. I don't mean that to put you in a guillotine choke. I mean that more into I think people type meaner than they are in reality. Mm-hmm. There's a false sense of you could be tougher, and it's not like a fight tougher. It's just I'm going to say whatever I want because this guy doesn't know how to Google my phone number and find out everything about me that he wants to find out, which I do. So examples yesterday on Twitter, people we didn't press Jimbo enough. And then I always followed up with, what would you want us to ask? And they don't ever ask. It's either the same things we've already asked. They just want us to ask it in a mean way. So John in Caldwell, who typically doesn't like our show but listens all the time because he texts all the time, he says, I guess you two have to be somewhat restrained so you don't be paying from the press conference. So I'll listen to Louie at 11 o'clock and see how we feel out here. Okay. Louie doesn't go to the press conferences, by the way. Love Louie, but he doesn't. He follows up with, you talk about how close we come from being a reason of hope next year. Have you forgotten how down the SEC was this year?
Yeah, that's true. That's another example of why you're frustrated. But here's the deal. Right now, Alabama's in the top 10. Right now, Ole Miss is in the top 10.
Sure doesn't feel down.
And Tennessee, where's Tennessee?
They're in the top,
15? So...
And they got a big game this weekend.
Yeah, they do. But you were in a position to win all three of those games, and you didn't.
Yep.
So we're talking about how down the SEC is. And I do think the SEC was more winnable this year for A&M than ever.
I don't even know if I have optimism. I don't know. That's the truth. My optimism is that if Connor Wegman's your starting quarterback next year, you probably win a couple of the games that you lost this year.
Maybe.
Then as soon as I say that, my pessimism is, how do we know he's not going to get hurt? So I don't know if optimism is the right word. I do know we talk out scenarios, and if you want to take that as optimism, okay, take it however the hell you want. Listen to whatever show you want to. But the reality is, with Connor, I think they probably win a couple of those games, but I don't know because the defense struggles in these games. We have false starts in these games. We have drop passes in these games. So
no,
I don't know.
All the symptoms of a poorly coached team. But I did ask, does the injuries at quarterback make you reconsider the blocking schemes? And what else can I do? I asked that. And basically Jimbo said, no, because that's not why they're getting hurt. It's all because of freak accidents. Well, in some cases, it have been freak accidents. In other cases, your guys have been in the pocket and getting pummeled.
Yep. By the way, we need to pay some bills. Apex Performance of the Week presented by Apex Health. If you feel like you're losing your edge, it could be low testosterone. Increase your energy, sharpen your focus, and boost your performance with a custom treatment plan from Apex Health. Learn more at apexhealthclinic.com. The Apex Health Clinic is owned and operated by a veteran, and they serve the Brazos Valley. I'll let you pick one or two.
Ja'Day Walker.
Ja'Day Walker.
Steps in for a starter who's out with a bruised thigh, and he comes out and catches 8 passes for 100 yards.
And this is a guy that earlier in the year had a really good game, then had a couple of drops, and we didn't see him for a while. Mm-hmm. Nice to see him step up and make some big plays for them. They needed him.
Yeah, he did. That's what you hear other programs say, hey, next man up. Well, had an injury. He stepped up and played great.
Who else?
Well, I think you have to say Max Johnson. I know he had one just egregious mistake that may or may not have been his fault. Ultimately, he and Anais were not on the same page. If you don't throw that interception on 1st and goal at the 5, maybe you win the game. In fact, you probably do if everything else goes the way. But he throws 305 yards. It throws a couple of touchdown passes. 31 of 42. Max was I don't want to say he's excellent because of the interception, but Max he played extremely well.
He did.
And you know what? He hung in there against pressure.
I'm going to throw in a couple other ones. I'll do one more football one. I think Anais Smith can be on this every week because if everybody played with his attitude,
his
passion, the guy just makes plays, right? Very rarely is an issue his fault. Even this year, the couple times that he's bobbled a ball, he turned one into a touchdown, right? The punt return. So bottom line, this guy, you could put him on the list every week. He steps up. When you give him the ball, great things happen.
And at the end of the game, when he's like one of the last guys off the field, you can just look at him and see how much he cares about the results of the game.
Yep. Let's do a basketball guy or two. How about Hayden Hefner?
Why not? 7 of 10.
19 points?
19 points.
4 rebounds, 2 assists.
He was playing. He was dealing.
3 of 6 from the three-point line. Long sleeves, just dominating out there.
Yeah. Again, I hope this is an indicator of the kind of season he's going to have. Now, I'm not saying that Hayden Hefner is going to go out and score 19 points a game, but you know what? If you could tell me that Hayden Hefner is going to average 10 points, I'd take it right now.
Heck yeah, you would. I guess we got to do the preseason SEC Player of the Year, right?
Well,
I mean,
why
how
not?
can you not?
You know, he Wade Taylor is
4
on the floor.
I think you have to be on the team to like. If I saw him on the streets, can I say, "Hey, 4"?
Yeah, and he'd say hi.
Yeah,
he's a really nice guy.
He's a very nice.
Look at
kid.
that. He scored 16 points. But what leaps out at me is, he took 11 shots. Okay, and so what is that? He played 20 minutes, so he's taking about a shot every 2 minutes.
Hey, this kid.
I mean, this guy. What he was doing yesterday is he was sharing and sitting.
Yeah.
He
But if he wanted to get to the rim, he could get to the rim whenever he wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could do some. And I love it when he attacks the rim, and he didn't have to, and he's made some nice 3-pointers. But if he gets fouled and goes to the line, that's almost a layup.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with Shereen Williams and chit-chat about the Aggies, and we'll talk football, we'll talk basketball, we'll talk Cowboys. We'll even talk OB's favorite player, C.J. Stroud. That and much, much more. I like that kid. I like that kid, too. Where's your pain, everybody? Is it in your knees? We don't like knee pain. Is it in your hips? Is it in your back? Don't let it sideline you any longer. You've got to get out there and enjoy your life. Don't let them tell you it's surgery that you need. Nah, there's other options out there. Don't tell them, hey, how about steroids? There are other options out there, and the best option for you right now is QC Kinetics. They're the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue the natural way. They use the science of properties from your own body to bring you lasting relief with no drugs and no downtime. Here's the beauty of QC Connects. They're trusted by patients all over the country. They got over 150 clinics here in the USA, but also they're right here in the Brazos Valley in the Bryan College Station area. And they have these advanced protocols to get you moving once again. So let's get out there and enjoy 2024, right? Start the process now so you can enjoy big time, and you can use your FSA or HSA and have them put it to work so you can get back to living your life the way that you want to. Remember, these advanced regenerative treatments are getting amazing reviews for people with arthritic pain and pain from injury. Again, no drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation and let their medical professionals give you a better path towards that pain-free life out there. The number is 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. Got some questions about the D-line. We'll try to get to those here in a moment. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon U. All right, let's go right now to the Brian Foley Law Hotline, and that's where we find Shireen Williams of Pro Football Talk, our Hall of Famer, our great Aggie. Shireen, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. How are we doing today?
I'm still hurting.
Yeah.
I had maybe the worst football weekend of my life.
I've had a lot of those, actually, now I think about
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm broken. Do you lose to Lane Kiffin and the Eagles in the same week?
We don't have the Rangers. Yeah, we don't have the Rangers. So at least you have the Rangers.
I said the worst football weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, at least you have something. We have nothing.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Shireen, and that's where I'm a broken man when it comes to our football program. Just your assessment, State of the Union address. Where's Shireen Williams when it comes to Texas A&M football for not only 2023 but the future?
We're a basketball school now, right? Good start by the basketball team. I don't know. They've been close, but close isn't good enough. I mean, the 3 games, I think they've had second half leads, and the 3 losses they've had, it's just not been good enough. It was a good game. I wanted them to have more urgency to try to score a touchdown there at the end of the game, because I had no faith that we were going to tie it, and if we did, that we were going to win in overtime. So I really wanted them to have urgency on that drive, and I know there wasn't much time, but to get down there and try to score a touchdown, and just didn't get close enough to try that. But it was an entertaining game. It was a close game. A friend of mine texted me before the game and said, I just have a bad feeling about this. I think we're going to get blown out. I said, no, I don't think we're going to get blown out. I said, I think the defense is good enough to keep us in it. And the fact is, the offense played probably their best game of the season.
Yes.
I like some things that they did. The offensive line blocked very well, but future of the program, I don't know. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not paid to make those decisions and have to try to find some money if I want to make a decision to make a change at this point.
Yeah. Everybody's just trying to figure out how to feel, because the direction of the program doesn't look good. But what can you do about it? What can you do about it, Shireen?
Well, and that's the thing. Do you have another year where you hope to have this good recruiting class, and if some of those have fallen off, you can still use the transfer portal? Frankly, I don't think they've used the transfer portal to their advantage like some teams have. I think now I want guys. We've discussed this, David. I want guys who have experience. I don't want guys who I think are going to be good. They're rated 5 stars. They were good in high school. As we know, that doesn't always translate. I want guys with experience who've been there, who've played college games. If they want to transfer, I want them. If I've seen it on tape in the college ranks. So I think they need to use the transfer portal more. I would not be opposed to Jimbo coming back. I know there wouldn't be a lot of excitement about that, but if you can keep the guys you have, get Connor back healthy, all those things, I do think this can be a good team next year. The schedule looks great on paper. It gives you a chance to win. But yeah, some things are going to have to change, obviously, to get there. And I don't know what. Again, I'm glad I have the job I have, and I'm not paid. I'm not Ross and the others who are making these decisions, because they're hard decisions to make.
No, Shireen, what I'm worried about is, even if all those guys do come back, and that hopefully they will, but my worry is that just putting high octane gas in an old car? Are you going to still run the same offense that's having trouble working?
Yeah, well, and it's a great question. I mean, are you just going to believe that because Connor's coming back that this offense is going to run at a high level? I don't know. There are so many things on offense that I wish they would do. I see so many creative things on offense, and I think to me the one pass that really summed it up was the interception. because I don't know. I didn't hear any of the comments. I was so mad after the game. I didn't even listen. So I don't know what they said about that play, but whether it was the wrong, it looked like they obviously were arguing over whether he threw it in the right place, it was the wrong route, or, whatever it was. That to me told me that's the problem with this offense. It's too complicated. Like, they don't know. They have nobody agrees on what happened on that play, and that just tells you how everybody talks about how complicated this offense is. Offenses in college football now are not complicated. They are not complicated. They don't need to be complicated. There's no reason for them to be complicated. You can be very creative and not be complicated.
And you're talking about one guy who's been here 4 years involved in that play, and another guy who's been here 2, but has been a college football quarterback for 4 years.
Yeah.
And they're not on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, which tells me it's a problem with the offense as opposed to a problem with them getting on the right page with the chemistry. To me, I don't know. I thought Petrino was going to be the difference, and obviously it hasn't translated to offense. In this day and age, and at any level of football, you have to be good on offense to win. You just have to. And they have a really good defense. I don't know what they're rated now. I know they went into last week rated 7. Good defense to keep you in games, to do enough. They don't make enough turnovers, but they do enough to keep you in the games. But you have to be better on offense to win in college football in this day and age, and they just haven't been. It's been a really long time since we've had a really, really good offense.
Shireen, let's get through Aggies in the NFL. How was the weekend for A&M when it comes to the NFL?
Yeah, it wasn't a good weekend. I really struggled to find 3 people. We're going to give honorable mention to Braden Mann. He had 5 punts for a 51.8 average. He had 2 punts inside the 20-yard line, and they actually did pretty well on punts against Turpin in the Eagles' victory over the Cowboys. Third, we're going to go Mike Evans, 4 catches, 87 yards, drew a big pass interference penalty, but they lost the Texans as C.J. Stroud had one of the greatest games I've ever seen an individual player have. That was just unbelievable, especially for a rookie quarterback. 2, Myles Garrett, sack, tackle for loss, pass defense, fumble recovery. Just being Myles, he's been listed as not just the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but MVP candidate. I don't think he has a shot at that, but the fact that his name's being brought up at the midway point is really good for him and good for A&M. Number 1, Justin Matabuke, 4 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. The Ravens defense is now the best in the NFL in every category. They've passed the Browns, just playing outstanding defense, just totally dominated the Seahawks on Sunday, and he's a big part of that. Seems like he gets a sack every single week.
Shireen, great stuff as always. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Shireen Williams there on the hotline, on the Brian Foley Law hotline, I should say. Appreciate her time here on the program. Let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to guess the line with Luke Evangelist. Right now we're talking Heritage Films, which is a company that makes documentary films about families, about the family patriarch. If you've got somebody important in your family, and that's maybe getting up there in age, you want to tell their story before it's too late, so your kids and their kids get to hear the story from the source. You don't want to wait too long on these things because they're such a great treat. My dad is 93 years old. Thank goodness he is still with us. We got to do this over a year ago, and it was an awesome experience for our entire family. We got to watch the documentary on my dad, who escaped Cuba in 1960, met my mom, who's also Cuban in the United States, and how they started the family and how this engineer had to be a dishwasher. It's kind of like the beginning of Scarface without the drugs, by the way. But and then he was able to, his education didn't mean anything from Cuba, so he had to go back to school here and get some more degrees, and bam, he started our family. I love hearing that story, and I know it was very important for my children and then later on their children. You can do that with your family as well. There's also the Yearflix option, which is cool. We did that with Annalise, my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, finding out where she's at in life. Oh, you're in 6th or 7th grade, and you're into soccer, and what do you want to do when you grow up? And then in a couple of years, we'll do a follow-up. Let's see what else she's into. Oh, now you're into this, and you do that. The Yearflix is a cool thing, 20-minute video. You'll love it, Q&A, and it's really fun for the kids. And it also can be college kids as well, freshman year to sophomore year. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. I want to read this on the YouTube page, and I know we got to get to Luke there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Inconvenient Pothole says, I also thought we played a great game. And he's responding to Preston, who's been kind of complimentary of the game. He follows that up with, let's see where it went. I just lost it. Basically, we went toe-to-toe with a top 10 team on the road without QB1, wide receiver 1, some starting DBs, and our RB1 tore his ACL. No, that's not what happened. I think yesterday, Jimbo said he's
going to play.
He's going to play.
But, all right, who's this?
It is the Inconvenient Pothole, which is never convenient.
That's true. And if you want to feel good about
in a vacuum, in one little spot, yes.
But again, at successful programs, they don't hang on to moral victories. Moral victories. You know what? Alabama looks at a moral victory and said, "We freaking lost, and we shouldn't have."
I think if you were trying to be a 10-win team and you lose like that story, then it's like, look, we gave it our all without this situation. But you're not in that position. You're in a position where you've won 10 games in 2 years.
I'm sorry. I think that attitude of saying, hey, look how close, I think that is counterproductive to Texas A&M. I think you need to have a program that demands excellence and doesn't feel good because you lost a close game on the road.
I think both things can be true.
No, I don't. Not anymore.
Well, that I can agree with. But my point is, I do see the same thing he said. Look, you didn't have your quarterback. You didn't have this. You didn't have that. Yes, all yes, and valiant effort. I don't care about, I care about valiant efforts. I want to win games. That's at the end of the day, are you winning enough games to keep me interested?
You got to win. You're 6 years in.
Should we try to get a couple games in the minute we have left, Luke Evangelist?
Yes, we'll go quick. Number 3, Michigan at number 11, Penn State.
Ooh, Michigan by 6.5.
It's actually Penn State by 5.
Oh, yeah, man, I'll take that.
Very interesting.
I'll be all over that one.
Number 17, Tennessee at number 12, Missouri.
Ooh, I'm going to say Missouri by 3.
Yeah, 3.5 Missouri.
It's Tennessee by 1.
Okay. We're way off today.
Florida at number 14, LSU.
Florida at number 14.
I wonder if Jaden Daniels is playing. I'll say LSU by 6.
I'm going to say LSU by 9.5.
It's LSU by 14. USC, number 20, USC at number 6, Oregon.
Oh, they fixed their defense. They fired Alex Grit. Doesn't matter. Oregon by 10.
It's Oregon by 16.5.
All right, let's go.
Y'all are a little bit off this week. And then finally, number 8, Alabama at Kentucky.
Oh, Alabama by
6.5.
10.5.
Okay. God, we suck this week. Thank you, Obi.
All right.
Appreciate you. Jamie and McCoy coming up next on TexAgs Radio. A real gem of a human joining us next here on TexAgs Radio. I don't know how I phrased it like that. It just sometimes, Jamie, I just say things that come to my mind. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Jamie McCoy joining us. I saw that big laugh, but I mean, you are a great dude, but I don't know if that's the intro that I was, in my mind had come up with.
Hey, I've never been described that way, but I'll take a gym any day of the week. How you doing, David?
You'll take a gem, and I'll take a win. How about that, buddy?
Hey, that too. I'll take one of those. Hey, I need 3 of those to end this thing.
All right, so this is going to be a long-winded question, all right? So I could probably make it just one sentence, what's the state of the program? But I'm going to give it a little bit more info. What did that game, that loss in particular, after everything that has happened over the last couple years, all right, considering the lane back and forth, considering losing close games, considering the offense was an issue, then it wasn't. How does that game, that performance, that loss, everything, the good and the bad, make you feel about where we are Aggie football-wise?
Man, okay. So I wasn't prepared for that question.
So this is therapy, bro. We're talking it through.
No. I know this is going to be I didn't plan on being optimistic today, but
you don't have to be.
This is going to be optimistic today. I mean, just off this question you just asked.
Okay.
I think that game showed, as much as people want to say, and I really haven't been one of these grumblers yet, but as much as people want to say Jimbo's out of here, we need to get rid of him, spend the 70, 80 million, he's out, in with the new guy. I think that game showed you that these guys still believe in Jimbo. He hasn't lost the locker room, and that they still not only fight for him, but fight for each other. That game, as ugly as it was, there were times where we were down. I don't know if it was 14 or 21, but it felt like it was 35, where it absolutely could have been worse. But then that also with the blocked field goal and things that we did defensively and somewhat offensively to stay in that game, I really think it showed the level of fight that we have. Hated to give them that wide open gimmick touchdown down the sideline where nobody was even covering the guy. But you take that away, you take away some of the other just dumb things where that's what we're good at, is shooting ourselves in the foot. But I think more than anything what that game showed me was, hey, we had every opportunity to lay down, give it up. Hey, that's us on the road, whatever the case may be. But we fought to the end. We gave ourselves a chance to win in the end. And I think it just goes to whatever this sunken place we've been in the last 4 or 5 years. It just seems to somehow migrate back to 8-4. I don't know why we can't get over that hump. I know we'll talk about a little bit more of that later, but I think more than anything, it showed me that these guys still believe in Jimbo. I think we get the right pieces in there coaching-wise. I think we can have a better performance on the field, but it just showed me that these guys still have some fight.
You said something there, caught my attention. So you think 8-4 is where they're headed?
I think so.
So they're going to beat LSU on the road?
For whatever it just seems like it needs to happen. The curse has to be. If it doesn't happen this year, you go through another offseason of not winning on the road. You got big games coming next year with the new SEC. You just don't want to go into next season with that lingering over your head. And then aside from that, I don't know what it is. We always get up for LSU. I would have loved to see LSU beat Alabama and have a better record going into the end, so it meant more for us and just look better optically. But I'm fine with for whatever, like I said, for whatever reason we get up for LSU. I don't think we've won there in the Valley, and who knows how long
since the 90s.
So why not? It just seems like when everything's down the toilet bowl, when you say, oh, they don't have a chance, this game's over, that's usually when A&M comes out and plays their best game. So hopefully that's what we see. Hopefully we can. I'm not concerned with Mississippi State and ACU, but I think these guys have to have a feeling in the back of their head that we got to go out and win one of these games.
Jamie, I can see that scenario playing out, absolutely, because it is Texas A&M, and like somebody like, wait, where did that come from? You're supposed to lose to Bama and you win. You're supposed to get destroyed by LSU the last game of the year and you win. I can also see the other side of the conversation. I'm going to just kind of read you some losses over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Because they find ways to lose games, and I think that's the most frustrating part. If it was only the DBs, if it was only the offense, if it was only the line. But here, so Appalachian State, I'll just say that, okay? 17-14 they lost. All right. The next loss that really you had a chance to win on the last possession, Alabama. Bad play call at the end, bad execution, whatever. You know how that one ended. South Carolina on the road. You were down 17-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game. Ole Miss, you lose 31-28. You had your chances. Connor's first start, you had a lot of optimism there, but you lose. You lose because everybody had the flu against Florida, 41-24. Against Auburn, you have no offense at all. You lose 13-10 to the worst team in the SEC. All right, so that's last year. This year, rinse, repeat. Miami, no DB, or you no pressure on the quarterback, and Tyler Van Dyke looked like a Heisman Trophy winner. And then we'll just go down to the next one. Alabama. A lot of things you could say about the Alabama game. That was the game, the moral victory game, but there isn't moral victories, but that was the one that hey, but look, we did. Okay, well, we looked, and then Tennessee, no offense. They ran all over you, a defense that nobody had run on. And now this Ole Miss game where you're almost down 17-0. Really, you're almost down 21-0. You get a miraculous play. You get your opportunities. But then another DB has a career day against you, over 200 yards. So I guess my point is I want to believe because it's my school. And I know the talent that's there. And I know Jimbo's resume. And I know that they're right there in all these games. That's my why I want to believe. This is a long question. But my I guess my apathy comes in, or my questions come in, because they find different ways to lose.
Yes, and it's so frustrating, especially as a fan. I know, man, it's not as bad for us, but I feel the Cleveland Browns of the world. All these teams that have been waiting for, you got everything that you need. You got the facilities. You got everything under the sun, the fan base that you could imagine that a team would need to get some momentum and energy going into their season, and some backing and support. You got that tenfold here at A&M. And as a fan, it's so frustrating to not only believe and want these things for your team, but to also have the naysayers and friends and other people that you may know, whether it be family or coworkers or people that you just know from going around the town, that just hate on A&M, and you got to deal with that. So for me, that's the frustrating part. Is I believe so much, and I'm pouring it out there, but everybody, the outside world is just looking like, poor Aggies, y'all, here it comes again. So again, we got to find some way to get over that hump. And everybody, if you went through and polled the team, I think every position group would be able to raise their hand and say, hey, we could have helped win this game, and we did something in some fashion for us to lose that game. So I think everybody has to take accountability, which I don't think anybody's pointing fingers or trying to show blame or whatever, but things have got to change. My first change would be, like I've said it, I'm going to keep on saying it, because we had nothing but great results when he was here, but we need to go get Jim Turner before somebody else picks him up, or he's just sitting around not doing anything, doing his YouTube clips. I think our offensive line is not prepared the way that they should be for situational football. And for one, speaking for offense, because that's what I know mainly, I'm so sick of watching Max backpedal. It's almost like he's always on his back foot, stepping back, taking steps back before he makes a throw. It's like you're not getting power into that throw. It's not going to be there the way that it should be. I hate to say that if Connor was around, I think we would have won 2 of these 3-4 losses that we have, but I absolutely feel that way. But again, not to put the blame on Max or the O-line, so to speak. I just think there's something needs to change. We've got to do something. I know somebody's head needs to roll for this fan base to feel like, okay, we got rid of this person. Maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. They want, somebody's got to go. I don't know who it's going to be, but somehow, end of the day, somebody's got to go, and we got to be ready to step up and finish this season out.
There'll definitely be staff changes. I'm going to read this comment on the YouTube page from Mike. The problem is we are right there versus teams that we should run away from. And it more philosophically, Jamie, when you look at this team, maybe that's why they're in all these games. The way they play football is like there's a control of the clock, control of possession. These games are all tight. The one in Arkansas wasn't tight, right? There was a moment of doubt, but it wasn't. But like there's these games that they're not destroying teams in the SEC. And who does? For the record, who does? But like all these games are right there, the good teams and the bad teams.
Yeah, I think that goes into our mentality and our aggressiveness. I just think back to, let's say you were in some type of jiu-jitsu match. It's like even. This. You guys start out, y'all are grabbing each other, y'all are grappling, whatever the case may be. That's how our mentality is going into a game. It's like, I'm gonna pull you, you tug me. We're going here. We're just doing this little dance of push pull. Where the way that I feel we should play is 12-year-old brother versus his 7-year-old brother. At some point, I'm gonna stick around with you, but when I gotta impose my will, hey, it's 10-9, and we're going to 12 in basketball. I'm gonna start leaning in. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to get that win. Where I don't think we're aggressive enough. We got the Evan Stewart, Noah, Moose Muhammad, Anais. We didn't throw a fade, I believe, the entire game. We're not, and you think about how Ole Miss started that game out. They throw a deep one early. They don't complete it, but they got a pass interference. And it goes to the mentality of the team. Hey, as you could see during that whole game, Ole Miss was in attack mode. They're coming at us. They're trying to get the clock going. They're doing that. It's evident as you're watching it on screen. They're coming at you where we're just sitting there dinking and dunking, where it's like, dude, go at them, attack, make them prove that they got the best DBs or safeties in the country, or that they can stop your receivers. So, and then same thing on defense. Come after, right there in the end, these guys are blitzing us nonstop. They won't let us get the pass play off, which is like, throw a screen, throw a fade. Stop trying to let Max hang on to it. Again, we just got to change our mentality. We've got to be aggressive and say, hey, we're coming into this game to win this game. We're not going to make it close. We're not going to have a battle. We're going to beat you guys and get up out of here. So we'll see if we can change it and change their mentality.
Jamie, I do this show for everybody, not just like people who want to be mad and people who just want to be happy. And I get mail from them all the time like, you're too negative, you're too positive. So we're going to have a positive part of this interview, okay? Because there's a couple of guys that I'd like to highlight. And one of those is Ja'Day Walker, who had a rough moment in the season a couple weeks back. But this Saturday, he came back and had himself a performance. What was it, 9 catches, 100 yards? He really looked good.
Oh, yeah. He absolutely looked good. He definitely stepped up, and I was one of the ones. I know he had a great game. I don't know if it was game 2 or 3, where I was like, man, who is this guy? Then he had a couple games there where it was a few drops, just mental errors of whatever case. And to see him, one, I didn't know Evan Stewart wasn't going to play. I didn't know he had a nagging injury, which it is what it is. That happened to be the case. But for a guy, it's next man up. And for Ja'Day to come out there and step up the way that he did, for Max to have the trust and confidence that he can go to him and that he was going to make that catch and make plenty of tough catches for us. It was great to see young kid, especially a young kid, come back after a troubling middle part of the season to come back and put some good stuff on tape. So love to see that. I don't understand why we're not involving Moose this year. I know he has all the talent, and for him to come back and stay this year. So I hate to see that we're not utilizing him like we should be. For Ja'Day to come in and do what he did was worse.
Jamie, we've been kind of tough on Max. We as a fan base, Max Johnson, by the way, the dude, beyond being a warrior out there, taking all the hits he did, he did have his most productive game as an Aggie. He looked really good in this one, especially from the last drive of the last offensive drive of the second quarter on. He had a couple mistakes, yes, I know that, but overall, that offense was clicking.
Yes, and don't get me wrong. I know that I've made my statements about Max, but to be doing what we're doing against this top talent that we're going against and be in these games speaks a ton to his readiness and his capability of going out there and leading the Aggies. Like I tell you, my neighbor next door is a UT guy, and what was it last week? He's like, "Yeah, we got our backup." And I'm like, "Man, welcome to our world." I don't even. He was saying it in such a way where it was like, "Dude, we've been dealing with top opponents, and we got a backup." But no, Max has been great for lack of better words. He's done everything that he's been asked to do. He's done more than what I expected from a backup, and it's a great thing when you have a backup of his capability that can go in and potentially lead your guys to a win. It sucks that we haven't got him on the road this year, but I can't say enough good things about his willingness to put his hand in the pile and lead these guys.
If this team goes 7-5, right, the feeling is you're going to lose people, bro. You can't go 12 wins in 2 years and not lose folks in this new world of college football. Your recruiting is going to take a big hit. So what do you spin? What do you sell? If you are on that coaching staff and you're a recruiting coordinator, what is your message about why kids should stay or consider Texas A&M if it's too bad? No, if it's the 2 years that we're getting.
Gosh, that's a tough question. My only message and the only thing you can do is preach finish, which a lot of the times that's the reason that we're losing some of these close games. We're not finishing, and we're not finishing strong, I should say. So my deal would be finish. Again, I don't think Mississippi State poses a big threat, and certainly not ACU. So, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and start thinking about LSU before we've won these games that we absolutely need to win. But with the end of the season in mind, I think these guys got to be focused on changing the narrative. I think if you go out there with as many road losses as we have, if you can go out there and end all that, end the losing streak, beat a ranked team, do all the things that you need to do by beating LSU last game of the year, I think that could salvage a lot of things. I think we got a lot of good young talent on this team, whether it be freshmen and sophomores. I know we're going to lose some of our guys from Richardson in the secondary and Anais, but I think there's still something to gain for the young prospects that are still thinking and trying to make a decision on where they need to go. Again, I don't understand how A&M would not be – how you wouldn't have your eyes set on A&M. It's got everything that you need, and you can see where you can plug yourself in. If you believe that you're a capable player, you should be able to see where you can plug yourself in, whether that's linebacker, DB, receiver, quarterback, offensive line, punter. We got plenty of positions where we can plug a guy in if they're willing to put their hand in the pile. So I would be preaching finish the season, and then finish and wrap up, whether it be recruiting and everything else that we need. Let's finish this thing strong.
Hey, I'm going to read you a text from Bill in Del Rio, who likes you and not me, or the vibe. Jamie McCoy, thank you for the sanity. The ranting and raving by others does no good, but it does affect recruiting negatively.
Yes, for sure.
You're agreeing with him? I'm allowed to rant and rave. That's what I do. It's a talk show. I'm optimistic and I'm pessimistic. Jamie.
I'm not going against you, Dave, but I hear what he's saying. We still need to get these young guys in. We got to have these guys believing as well as the guys in the locker room now believing. So, hey, I'm with them.
All right.
Positivity.
Well, here's my formula. I'm just honest to the moment, right? And sometimes my emotions get the best of me, and sometimes I can take a step back, detach from emotion, and tell you the reality. I want to help our recruiting as much as possible. But what I say on the radio is not affecting recruiting, because in a 15-hour-a-week show, we do spend minutes on the positives. Unfortunately, we spend some minutes on the negatives too, Jamie.
Which is understandable. Again, I'm not coming at you anyway, Dave.
I know, man.
I totally get it.
Hope to see you soon, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, yeah. You too. Thanks for having me, man. Gig 'em, you guys.
Gig 'em. Jamie McCoy on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. All right. We're going to hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we are going to talk to Jamie Morrison. It's the Battling Jamies here on TexAgs Radio, presented by, I don't know why I said that, David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Jamie Morrison's in the house, and I was telling Jamie I got to go to my first game this year. I'm embarrassed to admit it's the first game that I got to go to in person. I've watched on TV, and I was like, man, I had such a good time.
Yeah.
The crowd was great.
Yep.
The vibe was great. The volleyball was great. What a day.
And that's what we've been trying to create. So I've been on the air talking about, hey, we care about the 12th man, we care about the fans. We're trying to create an exciting atmosphere, and I think it's more than just the volleyball. So it's music we play, the way we light up the gym.
The intro song was awesome.
No, I don't know. 12th man P is. I'll give them a little shout out right now. They're amazing at what they do. I'll say the intro. I don't know. They upgraded. And for those of you that I think can read, I think they upgraded the sound system within the last year. So for us, for basketball, it's gonna be awesome. Lighting system they've upgraded. So and we talk a lot on the volleyball court about putting on a show, about building an exciting brand of volleyball that people want to come and watch. And we were talking beforehand. I just love the fact, and I completely agree with this. Like our sport in person is just a lot more. There's a lot more speed, a lot more grace, and it doesn't necessarily show up on TV. which I'm trying to change also by, again, we're the one net sport. This is actually, if you look at this, the one net sport in the world that they broadcast from the sideline. So if you watch tennis, ping pong, I know pickleball is becoming popular. They're all broadcast from the end line because you get to see how fast people are side to side. And, we're the one sport that doesn't happen.
Why do you think that is?
I think just we've never had a counterpart in it, and we've never stood alone, so we kind of follow the basketballs, I think, would be my guess. And basketball is broadcast from the 50-yard line. So we've actually talked to 12-Man Productions. We'll probably start doing this of a little bit more of our broadcast coming from the end line, so you can see how fast the ball is moving and how fast people have to move. And I don't know. Again, I hope it comes across how much I love our sport.
Oh, it absolutely does. We'll take it in parts this weekend. The 10th sweep of the season.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Do you know, like in the first set, like, can you tell you're cooking for the whole game, if the lack of a better term, or like, I know you can have a great first set and things can go sideways. I recognize that, but is there something that maybe stands out early on, like, okay, we're on the right page?
Yeah, I think I don't know, the right word is I feel like you're in control, and I know that's probably overused, but like I think you're in control of the game itself and putting the ball where you want it to go. You're in control of your emotions, and we're playing with the right pitch that we want. And you're like, oh, okay, like we have like, and I think our sport is like really just two identities clashing on each other, and it's almost like a tug of war or a pushing back and forth, and you can tell when you're constantly pushing and someone else is on their back foot. So it felt like that a little bit in that match, and at the same time, like I felt like that, and I'll take the Florida match. I talked about it when I was in here when we were playing at home. I felt like we were like that for a set and a half, that we were imposing our will on them, and they pushed a little bit, and then for the rest of the match, it was them on us. But so it can turn. But I was fired up in the Alabama match, the fact that we were able to push solid for an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. And I felt like we were in control for 99% of it.
Yeah, one thing I remember from the first set especially was like, if you all had a mistake, I'd look at the score, like there was always a comfortable margin.
Yeah.
It never felt like, and you were always on the attack.
Yep. Yeah, and that attacking piece is something we talk about a lot. Like that's the style of volleyball that we want to play. So I was really, really excited and fired up for that match.
All right, and then Sunday, unfortunately, you fall to Auburn, a back and forth day.
Yeah, 24 team in the country. Went 5. It really could have gone either way. Suffered an injury to Nisa in the third. We find out a little bit more about that today. And just it's equivalent, and not to, I don't know, I know this is going off probably more apt right now than anything. It's like the system we're running, we basically have 2 quarterbacks out there, and one of them went down. And
you have to kind of change it on the fly.
Yeah, we
right?
had, and literally had to change into something that probably that we hadn't even thought about being in terms of the lineup and personnel and where people were on the court, and something that we haven't really done all year. And the thing I was most encouraged, what I told the team afterward, was just pride of like, we played with a sense of urgency of we have to figure it out on every single point. And I really hope and cross my fingers that sense of urgency stays for the rest of the year. That like it's not necessarily about like we got to be perfect. It's about we got to find ways to win, and that might be different in every single day with lineups that are out there, but different every single point.
How is urgency set for a team? I know the coach can stress it, but you need players to kind of like live that world, right?
Yeah, we could talk back and forth on that one, because if you got any advice, I could use it a little bit every once in a while. But that one's hard. I think, and I've come on the show before, and I said like there's a bunch of eyes and teams, and they're made up of different personalities, and I think each team is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I think the way that it expresses that urgency is different. But there has to be a like, we need to win this point no matter what, in whatever way, shape, or form. You have to get to that level, and I think that comes with time and experience also. I think there's people that are like, I have 4 years and like we can do this later, and like, hey, it's not the postseason yet. And I think the people that have been in the postseason understand that like it's not the switch that gets flipped on all of a sudden. Like it's got to start in the summer of like, hey, there's a sense of urgency of we need to get in the weight room. There's a sense of urgency that we need to get into the practice gym. There's a sense of urgency every single day that we need to get better at something. And then you all of a sudden are able to go win a national championship. Those are the teams that I've been on.
All right, so you head to Missouri to play Friday. Currently tied for 5th with them in the SEC. So just talk a little bit about this matchup and how important it is for you all.
Yeah, just I told our team before we played them the last time. Just there's coaches that you sit down and talk to where you're like, they're going to figure things out. And I sat down with Dawn at a qualifier somewhere, and I'm like, damn it, she's going to be difficult. I didn't think. I think same thing of our team. I don't think people thought we'd be this difficult this quickly. Same thing with Missouri. I don't know. I know they were maybe last or close to last year in the SEC. And she's done a really good job turning that program around. And they play a really, tough style of volleyball where they're able to slow down a lot of volleyballs. And they're maybe not the most physical. No, they're the most physical. They have some really, really good players out there. And they I don't know, ate our block up the last time we played them. And we got to be disciplined. We got to make sure we're in good spots time in and time out, or we're going to be in trouble. But I expect a battle.
Considering you don't know the situation, there's what system you have to run. How difficult is this week preparing?
Yeah, we got to find out a little bit more information about NISA first, and then from there, we got to make sure that we're ready to play regardless of what happens. So there's a game plan on that of like these are the things that we have to do in order to go beat them with the personnel that we have, and we'll probably practice that regardless, just in case we need that. And then there's also the preparing and balancing this in 2 days of practice. Like there's preparing beating Missouri. Of making sure that we're good enough to go out and take care of business against them. So that's where I kind of spent last night for 2 or 3 hours, just kind of watching our last match against Missouri, like what we need to do better, but also understanding like what we need to do to be the best version of ourselves.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. They're Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. This is awkward. I was looking for a round table, and I didn't get a round table. I mean, it's kind of round. What shape would you say this is, Nicole?
This is I didn't really pass geometry, so let's not.
It's like
really.
a D.
Yeah,
it's a D.
The lone KBTX. It'll be okay though.
It is a KBTX round table, round with one person.
Featuring Nicole.
Nicole Griffith is in the house. Hello, how are you?
Good. Why was that British?
You were making fun of me the way I was sitting talking to Jamie.
Just when I walked by, I don't know if people know, there's a window right there behind the cameras, and so I can see like how far along you guys are, and it was just both of you guys like shoulder just staring at each other, and I was like, who's gonna? We
were about to do an arm wrestling contest.
Who's gonna blink first? So I thought it was funny, but.
So we kind of prepped on what we were going to talk about today. One of the things I was curious is this rock bottom for A&M and for this regime, for this time in A&M history. And you, considering where we are in college football, that people can leave, but also knowing you do got a quarterback coming back next year, but that's kind of a disservice to the way Max played yesterday. Like, it's just, there's so many different emotions. Do you think this is rock bottom?
I think it depends on what rock bottom is, depends on what your expectations were going into the year. So this is only my second season covering Texas A&M, so I only know Texas A&M as underachieving. Last year, just the 6 losses in a row was my first season. And so I wouldn't say a loss to Ole Miss is rock bottom just because they were 10th, they're ranked 10th. You're on the road, but then you look at it as a 3-point loss to Ole Miss. Sorry, I'm kicking things. Frustrated. But then you'd flip that coin, and it's like this team has not won on the road, and we can beat that drum. They have not won on the road since 2021, and they have never won on the road against a ranked opponent in Jimbo Fisher's era. So what makes you think they're going to do it now?
Right. I think that's the problem. That's why it's like, because all these games feel similar in some way, shape, or form, although they have different subplots, but they just, there's different ways of losing. How does this compare? So you covered a program that was, one time the elite of the elites, right? National championship program. Not while you were there, obviously.
Yeah, I was a baby when they were in their heydays.
But Nebraska, when you covered them, and there were still huge expectations every year when they got Scott Frost and this and that. How does that kind of compare to the now?
So I covered Nebraska from 2019 to 2021. So they went 5-7, 3-5. That was the COVID year, and then 3-9. So I have experience covering losing programs, or not that A&M is a losing program.
Last year was a losing year.
Covering losses.
Yeah.
I'm not the problem. I can say that. There's not a common denominator there, but it's infuriating because I knew going into the Ole Miss, I was like, we have to. They're not gonna. I don't see them winning this game, and so covering Nebraska. Going back to Nebraska, I was like, I don't want to be. You hear the same things in the post game, and that's what we're also hearing from Jimbo in the same things in the post game. And so, when you hear him talking about he seems very even keel. Like when he came to the post game after the Ole Miss loss, he was very into the room, the closet that Ole Miss had. He's just like, I can say what he's gonna say because I've heard it, and there's a formula to it, and it's a 1-minute spiel, and so but he's very even keel, and he knows where they need to make changes. Jimbo Fisher, that is. But then we hear from him on Monday yesterday, and he sounds very he sounded kind of defeated in the beginning, and then towards the end he sounded kind of annoyed, I thought. But it's just frustrating hearing that we need to I haven't heard the word execute in a while, but I have heard the inches. We need to find the inches, and that's, how many games can you say that? You go find them.
Yeah, go find them is right. Do you take anything away from it being a hard-fought game to the very end?
So I can already sense your the sarcasm in that question.
The truth is, I believe that 100%. I can take something away from that. Like, those guys fought their butts off. It could have been a blowout, and they had the lead
well,
in the fourth quarter.
it almost went up 3 scores. I was
Right.
like, they're going to go, it's going to be 17-0 here pretty
So
quick.
I do believe that line. I do believe, man, this team is fighting, and you got to give them and the coaching staff credit for the way they fight. But to me, at this point, that's the price of admission. That's what I expect. I'm proud of them for that, and I'm proud of the way Max played, and I'm proud of the way Anias played, and Ja'Day Walker. And so both things can be true. But at the end of the day, it's about the results.
Yep. And so it's like nothing I say, nothing Jimbo, well, maybe what Jimbo says, but nothing anyone says is really going to make the fans feel better if you want results, because they're not winning games or winning the games that you're supposed to win. Because I remember in the fourth quarter, I told Jamie, you're Jamie, and I said, because we were the only ones really on the sidelines, it was great. We had wide open areas to shoot at Oxford, but I said, this is why you pay Jimbo the big bucks, because you're down in the fourth quarter on the road with a top 10 opponent in the SEC. You need to find a way. You're getting paid to find a way, and he's not finding a way. And the fingertip, literally, we had a Daryl Bruffett, so we both shoot field goals, and I will shoot the ball, and he will shoot the kicker. So you can see the ball being deflected. And so it's disheartening. Like, those are the inches. I guess that's where Jimbo says, find an inch, kicked an inch too low. But I don't know. I'm tired of hearing about inches, and I just want it to be taken care of.
How concerned are you this week?
Sorry. No, I didn't even answer your question.
I don't even know what I asked.
So about it being a hard-fought second half. So I would say yes, because you need something to build off on. And they hadn't been finding the end zone in the second half, and so they finally were able to. And I feel like that can give them life going into the next 3 games. But, I mean, people will say that's moral victories. But, I mean, you gotta find things to build off of and have confidence in.
Are you concerned about this Mississippi State game, or is this another one? A&M takes care of the inferior opponents. Not worried.
Well, I mean, inferior. So A&M opened as an 18-point favorite, but their records are very, very similar. So, and you are what your record says you are, and so.
But A&M has taken care of the lesser opponents, and Mississippi State has taken care of Arkansas barely.
And they lost to South Carolina, and I think they did, and then they lost bad to Alabama. So, I'm not so concerned about the Mississippi State offense because, they don't have Will Rogers anymore. They're kind of reworking their offense. They're second to last in the conference with total offense. So it could be a good game for the defense to maybe work on some of the secondary stuff that they need to work on. But the defense, Mississippi State's defense, Zach Arnett is a defensive-minded coach, and so Edger and Cooper is second in sacks in the conference. Well, who's first? Mississippi State player. So, and Mississippi State has the top 2 number of tackles. Did I look at the SEC stats before I came in here?
I would say, is this Jeopardy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you did. Yes. The answer is yes.
What is stats?
That would be the proper way to play. Yeah. All right, so you mentioned Edge Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow you to react to the ridiculous Butkus semifinalist list that he's not on.
Don't make fun of Butkus. That's Chicago Bears legend right there.
I'm not making fun of him. I'm talking about the people who don't know how to vote.
Yeah, it's brutal. He's playing with his hair on fire. He's one of the we have on our Aggie game day, we have the defensive player to watch, and we've picked him twice, and I'm going to have to pick him again. Like, he can't be our player to we're trying to spread the love on the defensive side, but he's just playing so well this year, and the guy they did pick has 1 more sack than him. So it's like, was that the deciding factor, is the numbers? And so you feel for him because in a season where things aren't going your way, those watch lists can kind of help, boost the confidence of the individual players. I know it's a team game, but yeah, you feel for him. And he tweeted about it. I mean, he tweeted 1 word. He tweeted darn, but yeah, you feel for him. He's awesome.
Last thing for you. Got any observations for us, Miss Nicole?
Would you say maybe 3?
I think it's the KBTX big three with one person.
So do I have to do 9?
Yeah, you got to do 9. 9 observations,
So,
all new.
I would say the offensive line, and I don't know if this is like a moral victories, but Max was only sacked once. So
He was hit a lot.
But, you know,
They did get better. Absolutely.
I feel like they
did
were
get
able
better.
to run the ball. The running game was able to go, and they were able to run between the blocks. And so the offensive line played better. I
Yep.
wouldn't say they played great. Man, the secondary, I know they were missing Deuce and Tyreek, but that was Ole Miss. Like, they picked on them. And
Yep.
so I don't think Mississippi State or Abilene Christian will, but LSU will pick on the secondary.
Yeah.
And then I think it's a bright spot was them finding the end zone on the road in the second half. That's my observations. My other observation 4 is that basketball starts. So it's the crossover season. It's playoff season in high school. It's a busy time. So
Nicole, great stuff. You know what? Maybe we don't need the other folks.
Oh,
Right?
I don't want to go that far.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you didn't tell Daryl to come. Like, you're like, they don't need you.
I gotcha. I'll take care of it. No.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Joni Taylor, their season starts on Thursday. We'll chit-chat with Coach Taylor here next on TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Aggie women's basketball. They start their season on Thursday. They'll be taking on A&M Corpus Christi at 6 p.m. inside of Reed Arena, and we're super excited the way the season ended last year for the ladies and the trajectory that this program is going to. We go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Joni Taylor joining us here on TexAgs. Joni, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good. We're excited. Do you feel kind of that buzz around town? People are super excited about what the team's going to do this year.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope so, and I hope they show their excitement by filling up Reed Arena. I tell you, I was at the men's game last night watching them play Commerce, and I felt the energy in the building. The Reed Rowdies, the 12th man. It was amazing, and we need that same type of energy Thursday and all season long. We've got a great home schedule. But, yes, David, I am excited about the season. I felt that this summer as I was around the Brazos Valley, in and out of the community, and just really excited about the work that our players and young ladies have put in.
A year into it, how much do you think this team has grown, understanding your philosophy, your expectations, and it applying, seeing it on the court?
I don't even know if I could put it in words. I say to them all the time because I never want to take for granted the hard work they put in, especially our returners. Obviously, the new 8 faces on our roster, leveled up our talent quite a bit, but our 7 returners really put in the work. We had very honest end-of-the-year evaluations with them. I think they also saw the benefit of their hard work in the SEC tournament, going on the run that we did and having some success once we got our entire team back from injury and got into a flow and had some chemistry and better understanding. And so that drove them. Those conversations and some success at the end of the year really drove them this summer. They all worked really hard on their game individually and together as a team, and, credit goes to them.
Joni, I like your model this year, Tough. Tell our audience a little bit about it, because I feel like your teams kind of adapt and adopt the mentality that you're trying to stress out there. So tell us a little bit about Tough.
All right. So tough obviously means tough. There's a level of toughness that we need to have. I think we're tougher than we were last year, but we're still not as tough as I would like for us to be. And so that's got to be front of mind. It's also an acronym. TOUGH stands for trust, ownership, unity, gratefulness, gratitude, and humility. We've got 8 new players. We've got 15 on a roster. That's a full roster. And so there's got to be trust in each other. We've got to trust ourselves and the work that we did this summer. We've got to trust our coaches, our teammates to the left and to the right of us. We've got to take ownership for what it is we're supposed to do. There's an expectation for every single player when they show up to practicing games every single day. They all know what it is. And we've got to take ownership and showing up in that space and in that posture. And then we want to be unified in all that we do, understanding that it is a team effort, not an individual effort. And so having unity, the opposite of unity is being set apart, and we don't want to be apart. We want to be together. Gratitude and gratefulness speaks for itself. We want to operate in a ton of gratitude in everything that we do. It is a privilege to represent the Fighting Texas Aggies. And then having humility, which means lack of pride, lack of ego.
Joni, one of the things that we talked about at the top of the segment, but I just kind of want to bring back in a different way, is, you had an inexperienced team last year going through those battles, going through the deep run in the SEC tournament. Just what does that do? What does experience do beyond understanding your expectations, but the experience part of it?
We were so inexperienced last year, David, and so it's trial by fire. And so what we have this year is experience. What we still don't have this year is knowing how to win. We obviously rattled off some games like we talked about earlier in the SEC tournament, but good teams know how to win. So that's going to be our trial by fire this year, is learning how to win. We had a couple of close scrimmages against some Texas teams in the state, and one of them was on the road, and we were fortunate to win that scrimmage. And when we got back home, Janiah Barker got off the bus, and she goes, our first road win. We didn't win a game on the road last year. So take away the neutral site games that we won in the SEC tournament. We didn't win one game on the road. That just tells you how inexperienced we were. And so we've got to learn how to win. We've got to learn how to win on the road. And we've got to learn how to rattle off, back-to-back wins. And then, obviously, what comes with winning? How do you handle success? And so we still are learning this year. But going through what we did last year, the injuries, the minutes, all of it has prepared this team to be in a good position for where we are now.
Talking to Joni Taylor here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the newer players that we're going to get to know this year?
do you have time for 8? So we have a great mix of newcomers. We've got 4 freshmen that we're super excited about. We signed all of them, 3 of them in the early period and 1 late. Tilly Williams is from Cincinnati, Ohio, really elite guard, 3-level scorer. Erica Moon is someone who we have been recruiting solely as well for a long time. She's a point guard from Atlanta, Georgia. Kylie Marshall, number 1 player in the state of Texas, big-time guard. And then Vanessa Sadu, we signed late. She's a forward from Minnesota who's going to be really good for us. Our transfers are very elite. We signed Kendall Hunter from Texas. She's a Texas kid. We signed India Rogers, who transferred from Oregon. She is a really, really good point guard. It's going to be fun to watch. She's also from Texas. We signed Lauren Ware, who went to the Final Four as a freshman at Arizona, so brings winning experience and a championship mindset to our team. Really excited about her. And then obviously our last transfer was Aisha from Auburn. She's played in this league. She's been an all-SEC player in this league, and she just brings a level of grit and toughness that partners well with what it is we want to do.
Joni, super excited about it. Good luck on Thursday. We'll be watching, and we'll see you here on the show soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joni Taylor there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Appreciate her time here on the program. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to keep it real with Jordan Pugh. Next on TexAgs Radio. All right, so at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, Jamie McCoy joined us. A little optimistic. I am on there's some things I like, there's some things I hate. That's where I'm at. So let's keep it real with Jordan Pugh as we go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. What's up, JP?
Hey, man, how you doing?
From a football sense, same place I've been the last 2.5 years. From a life sense, I'm blessed, brother.
Hey, man, I'm equal. So we're on the same page on that point, man. I'm kind of feeling the same way you are, kind of just, you know what I mean, from a football standpoint. So I get it,
So let's talk a little bit about our facts here, because you never sugarcoat it. You tell me how you feel. So I'll let you take it away, man, because there's a lot to unpack. A gutsy performance, but not good enough.
So I've been thinking about it, right? So going into the week, we talked about it. I said this game is the swing game for me. I said this is the game that scares me. I don't know what it is about the Mississippi schools, but we just have trouble with the Mississippi schools. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they got some voodoo on us. I don't know what that thing is. I was thinking about the facts, but then I just came to one thing. Something just stayed on me all weekend. I don't think okay, let's put it like this. We have the talent, we have all that stuff. Everybody knows what we possess, okay? Everybody knows what we're capable of. But the more and more I watch these games, the more and more I look at the way that we lose, the tough losses that we have, where they're one play away, one possession away, whatever that is. I'm starting to believe that there's a lack of toughness on this football team. Because the way that we lose games, the way that we can finish out opponents, we tend to let that slide. And to me, there's a certain intensity level, a certain urgency, a certain lack of toughness that we don't play with at the end of football games. I think that we have moments where we shine. I think that we have moments where we look good, where we display that. But overall, from an overall standpoint, I think there's a toughness issue. I think, Jimbo talks about grit all the time. There's a certain kind of grit I think that we're lacking in order to close these games out, because it can't be explained any other way. You have everything you need. You have the pieces in place. We can get to the schematics of it, but at the end of the day, man, there has to be a will to win. It has to be a will to finish. And I think that what you've seen, let's just keep it this season. What you've seen this season is a lack of effort in order to finish. And then we end up playing catch-up ball in the end. So I think overall that's just where we are. I've been really just trying to break this down objectively. I've been trying to go through all the scenarios, what's missing. You can go through the scheme, you can go through all these different things. But I think at the end of the day, there's a certain attitude that I think that we lack, that other teams possess, that's keeping us from finishing these games. I think that's what the symptom is. I think that's what the diagnosis is. That's something that I don't know that can be fixed this season, because that's a mindset. I think that starts from the top down. And that's something, man, where it's got to be a gut check point, because nothing else, you can go through all the rest of the semantics, but nothing else adds up other than that point. Because you can fix things schematically, you can adjust people, you can move people in and out, but at the end of the day, man, there has to be a 1-2 to finish, and I think we're lacking that.
Do you have faith that this regime's going to figure it out at some point this season and beyond?
So here's another thing. So we talked about this too. So we talked about coaches, right? We talked about the Kirbys, the Eli Drakewitz, the Sabans of the world. I don't know. And if you were to ask me right now, I don't think so. I don't think that we make the necessary adjustments in order to complete games. When I bring up those coaches, something strikes me with those coaches. I listen to Kirby, I listen to Nick, I listen to how their players respond. There is a certain intensity level that you get, a certain presence that you feel whenever they're in the room, whenever they're talking. I think that starts with the top. I think that they understand the game. They have a pulse of their players. They it's a standard in order to be physical, intense, and finish. But also, they're good football coaches, and they make adjustments on the fly, and they understand who their players are. I think we're lacking that too. I just haven't seen it, man. I haven't seen us make the adjustments. I haven't seen us make in-game adjustments. I haven't seen us put our players in situations schematically that fit them to who they are. And you keep seeing it week in and week out. And to be honest, you get tired of talking about it each week because it's like at some point you have to make the change, or there has to be some type of advancement. And every week I see more of the same. So if you just see more of the same, well, that's who you are at the end of the day. So if you ask me right now, can we fix it? No, because I think we're stuck in who we are. I don't see it changing over the next however many games left, 3 games that we have left. I don't see that changing. So we'll see how this finishes out. We can win every single game, but we can also lose every single game based on what team shows up. So that's just where we are, man. That's just the State of the Union address right now. That's where we are as a program.
So they can win every game, they can lose every game. But what does winning every game do for the program, the negative recruiting that they're going to get if they win these next 3? And again, big if, but if they do, you can sell that to recruits, I think, right? You can, a 9-4 season, you can sell that to recruits to be like, look, yeah, we had our backup quarterback. We missed Evan in a couple games. We missed this guy. We missed that guy. We had our no DBs in one game. Like, you can sell it. It's hard to sell, but you can sell it, right?
I mean, yeah, you can sell it. Look, I think A&M sells itself. At the end of the day, I think people overblow recruiting when it comes to the win-loss standpoint. Now, that has an effect. That does have an effect. I'm not saying that. But also at the same time, as a recruit, you're the person who believes that you can change the program around. So when you're getting recruited to these schools, you're the one who believes that, no, I'm the difference maker, okay? Or at least those are the type of guys you should be recruiting, is those type of guys. So I don't think that the recruiting aspect is going to affect us because look at what we've done in the past. I mean, we've had our 8-4 seasons, our 9-3 seasons, all that, and that hasn't affected us in a recruiting standpoint overall. At the end of the day, it's about the player development and it's about a certain standard. And right now, we're not meeting that standard. And I don't think – part of me wants to say that I think that we're kind of delusional in the standpoint where we want to move the goalposts when it comes to what we want to accomplish as a program. And I just think that, you win out, and let's say you go 8-4, you finish 9-3 with a bowl game. That's good, but that's still average based on what we possess. We're not being graded on the season. We're being graded on the talent and what we're capable of. And we keep underplaying that. We keep coming up short. So I just think that, man, when you look at it from a grand total objective viewpoint, man, we fall short of what the standard is, and we keep allowing the mediocrity to happen. And at some point, that's got to change. I don't know if that's a change in regime, a change in scheme. I don't know what that is today. But you can't keep doing the same things over and over again because we keep getting the same results. So I don't know what that looks like right now, but something's got to change.
What went wrong defensively? And I will throw out, you were out without your starting DBs, right? So, I mean, that's going to affect a game plan. But just overall, what do you think went wrong?
Our secondary was absolutely terrible. We lost a lot of 50-50 balls in the game. I think that Lane, when you break the game down schematically, man, he out-schemed us from a passing game standpoint. I thought a lot of things that he did were really good. I thought a lot of the eye manipulation he had with the defensive backs, the way that he set those plays up, I thought that was a beautiful game that he called from that standpoint. But when you look at it from a secondary standpoint, we were in position. We just didn't make plays. Those are 50-50 balls. You got to make those plays. I thought secondary let us down. We gave up a few runs defensively on that front 7. I thought we still created a lot of pressure. I thought we still did a good job up front. But that goes back to what I was talking about last week, how you can't ask the defense to be perfect every single week. We talked about some of the worries that we had going into the Ole Miss game. And I said, man, when they get hot, they get hot. They're the best front-running team in the country. And you're asking that defense to be perfect. I just think that there's a lot of possessions that we missed out on. If we go back to the offensive standpoint, that could have saved our defense. That interception that we had in the end zone with that throw to Anias, that comes to mind. Those are opportunities, man, to let our defense get a lead, and pin their ears back and go get the quarterback. There's a lot of situations, man, where we fell short, but I think particularly defensively speaking, the secondary is what let us down because it opened up a lot more of the run game. You had to start going too high shells that emptied the box out and allowed Lane to be in his bag when it came to the play calling.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. All right, so what went wrong with defense we discussed. What went right offensively when it went right?
We had a lot more explosive plays. I will give them that. We had a lot more explosive plays. Anais took over. We had Walker that showed up. I think that our downfield passing game improved. You had a lot more options for Max to be able to deliver the ball. So I thought that was better. It still took forever for the plays to develop, those downfield throws to develop. But I thought overall it was a better game from a passing standpoint. I still think we're not getting the ball enough to our playmakers, the Anises of the world. I don't know where Moose has gone, man. I don't know why we're not utilizing him enough. He's a dangerous weapon that I don't think we're utilizing. But overall, I thought the performance was good. I thought we were fighting an uphill battle as the game went on. It was better. It was better than it was last week, but I still think that we're not getting the full capability of our offense. I still believe that, man, we're not utilizing all the talent. Something is just not adding up. And the frustrating part is you don't know what it is. Like, what is that thing that we're missing? That's what I've been trying to think about all weekend. I don't know what that is, man. I can't put my finger on it. But something is missing from this offense that's keeping us from being super dangerous in these games. So I don't know what that is right now.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. Explain this to me, and look, there's not going to be a good answer, but like, of all the games that have a slow start, why do you think they had a slow start in a game that I thought was personal? Like, I was almost worried that maybe it would be like too fast of a start, like they were too angry, and they get some dumb penalties or whatever. But that unfortunately they didn't start going until too late. And they had. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't too late. They took the lead in the fourth quarter. So.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what that is. To me, that goes to a mindset. It goes to a certain toughness level. I just think, from what I'm seeing, I think the overall, as a program standpoint or a player standpoint, we don't understand the urgency of each and every game. I think that you get caught into this trap of trying to survive instead of thriving. With the type of talent and the collection that we have of players, coaching staff, we should be in thrive mode, not survive mode. Survive mode is I'm trying to win this game. Thrive mode is we're going to win this game, and this is how we get it done. That's where it goes to the schematics. That's where it goes to the adjustments. That's where it goes to the mindset. I think a lot of that plays into being unsure of what you really can do. When you have a few losses, and when you have losses where you've gotten whooped, you have losses where you've had losses where they've been close. Man, that creeps into a player's mind. Like, man, here we go again. You know what I mean? Now you're trying to fight your way out of this box. You're trying to fight your way out. You're trying to get this win, and you're trying to overcompensate. That plays more than what you think. And the one problem with this program is we've always been trying to break through, and we still haven't had that breakthrough moment yet. We thought we've had it in certain games, Alabama's of the world, that type of thing. But when you have a team that hasn't won anything significantly, it's hard until you do it. And that's I think is a missing piece for us. We haven't won anything significantly yet, and you feel the pressure, you feel the tension, you feel all those things as a player, as a coach, trying to get over that hump. And I think those are reasons that we start slow. Those are reasons that we lose games tight, is because, man, until you win, you don't know how to win. And so those little things, man, they creep up and they become a factor in these games. For starting slow, finishing the wrong way, all those different things matter, and those are reasons for it.
Edge Cooper doesn't get the Butkus semifinalist list. Yeah, you've seen his play all year. We've spent some negativity today. Let's do some positivity. This guy was robbed of a nomination, I should say.
Yep. Oh, best linebacker in the nation. It's not even close. I mean, the way that he's playing, the impact that he has on the defense, he should be the guy. But that just goes to team. A lot of that stuff, man, has to do with the success of your team. You know what I mean? Let's just call it what it is. You know, the season, if we had 1 loss, maybe 2 losses, he'd be right on top of the list. But what he's done, man, he's been the guy that has anchored that defense. You know, man, the plays that he makes, how he can go sideline to sideline, his athletic ability in open space to be able to cover guys, be able to tackle in space, his blitzing ability, he has it all. I mean, he's an NFL guy, a big-time NFL guy. I think, you know, that's wrong. That's messed up. That's a travesty that he's not on that list. But, man, that doesn't take away from who he is. Dude is a player. You know what I mean? And he's been vital for this defense.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. All right, so how do you keep what you have with this staff, right? Like when you've got these players, you know, you can make the argument that Connor will be back next year, but how do you keep what you have? And look, there's some people that are going to leave just because they should leave or they don't fit. But how do you keep the talent that you have, considering this will probably be a 7-5, 8-4 year?
I don't think the talent is going anywhere. I think a lot of the transfer thing is overblown. I think the guys that are playing, I mean, they're all in and they're committed. You're going to have some guys leave. That's just the nature of it, like you said. What I think is you need to have a revamp in expectation. That's what I think. You know, when you look at the 4- and 5-star guys, a lot of that are highly touted guys that are highly recruited or wanted. Okay, I think that we've done a good job of acquiring the talent, but I think part of that missing piece is the toughness. You know, I've said this before. I've always said that the strength coach is one of the most important hires that you can make on a staff. The strength coach is essentially the head coach. They spend the most time with the players, especially in the offseason. I think there is a certain toughness. I will go back to that, like I said at the beginning, that we're missing. There is a certain mindset that we're missing because it's not a talent issue. I think there needs to be a reset when it comes to that. I think there needs to be a reset in mentality, a reset in expectation. And if guys don't meet the standard, then things need to move and things need to shift. I think that's where we are now as a program. It's not about talent acquisition, facilities, this, that, and the other, play callers, schemes, all this good stuff. There's an expectation level that's missing, and that's the problem. And I just think we have to get to a root of toughness again, man. One of the things, I'll say this, one of the things that drew me to the A&M was the 12th man. And the thing that I loved about the 12th man is there was a certain blue-collar kind of attitude to that I resonated with. What I think this program is missing is we're missing a blue-collar type of attitude. I think that we have all the glitz and glam. I think we have all the top-notch guys, but are they tough, though? It doesn't make sense how you have that. How can you have an Alabama or Georgia of the world where they get these 4- and 5-star guys, but they don't transfer a lot? You don't hear about that. They're bought into the system, and they understand what the expectation is. There is a missing piece when it comes to that. And I think until we have that blue-collar attitude, until we have a certain type of grit to us, all the 4 and 5 stars looks nice, all the new upgraded facilities, that's cool. But I don't think we're going to win anything until that changes. That has got to be the focus moving forward.
That's Jordan Pugh, keeping it real. Hey, I'm going to leave it with this question.
Okay.
Do you think they're going to go 8-4?
No.
What do you think they're going to do?
I think they'll go 7-5. I think they'll win this week. I think they'll beat whoever we play. Abilene Christian.
Yep.
LSU, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not losing faith in Jimbo yet, but I am close. I'm close. We didn't bring him in here to be average. And every single year, outside of one, we've been average. It is what it is. Believe what you see. So they need to show me something down the stretch. But, man, there has to be a reset. And until that reset happens, we're going to be beating our head against the wall every single year.
If they do go 8-4 and they win a bowl game.
Yep.
Does that maybe change that reset? Like, not for you, but for them across the street?
No. Or does it? You talking about as far as?
I'm just saying if they win these next couple games and somehow they win Baton Rouge, something they haven't done since Bill Clinton was president, right? They seriously, they do that. Does that maybe temper, like, maybe we don't have to make all these changes? We were just without Mac, or we were without Connor.
They would be fools if they think like that. Like, that's cool, but they got to understand. That would tell me that there's an identity crisis and you don't understand who you are. That's what that tells me. and you're playing with fool's gold and not understanding that, man, you're better than this. You're more than this. You're more capable than that. That's what that tells me. And if that's the case, then we have a serious issue, and then we need to talk about changes if that's the case, because you can't accept what we've been doing knowing what you possess. That's the problem. That goes back to the standard. What is the standard? The standard doesn't change. So if they do that, man, I would have an issue with that, and I hope that wouldn't be the case.
Jordan, appreciate you, man. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Jordan Pugh on the hotline, the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We'll hit a break. We will come back. We're going to hear a little bit from Jimbo. We're going to just hear your text messages. We're going to chit-chat a little bit with an open segment. We've been kind of loaded since the start of the 9 o'clock. A little breathing room, and then we'll get a Mississippi State insider. And we'll chit-chat with Robbie Falk here in a little bit. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are on Highway 21. They are in Caldwell, and they're online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Time to buy a new vehicle? Maybe. Maybe for you it is. And if you're in that situation, you got to look at your options out there. And I'm going to tell you the best option in the Brazos Valley, that's to go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet, because there's several different things you're looking for when you're buying a car. Let's start off with the most important thing. You want the right car, right? So you might have your heart set on a certain type of car, or you might have your heart set on a certain price point, or you might have your heart set on, like, sell it to me. What do you got, right? Caldwell Country Chevrolet is going to help you out in all those areas. You're going to get a good price. You're going to get a good trade-in. You're going to get great customer service, and they're going to help you throughout the process, right? So if you are looking for a certain price point, if you're looking for a certain type of vehicle that maybe they don't have yet, let them find it for you. They're going to get you the car that you want. They'll let you know at the right time for your family, and that is the thing. They allow you to do it at your speed, because I've done it. I bought my vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet over a year ago, and it was an extremely good situation. You'll get a great deal on your next vehicle. Simply call, click, or stop by Caldwell Country Chevrolet today. It's about a 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to the very edge of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. open segment here on TexAgs Radio. We do have some sound to get into, but I like going to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because Luke Evangelist always has got some optimism, some smiles, and some thoughts to get into. I know there's some stats that you wanted to get to at some point in this show, but we also have some text messages on the text line.
Yeah, so I guess you're just going to let me do my own thing and
you
pick
just
the
decide
order?
what direction we go.
Okay. Well, let's go for some positive stats because I think that's needed around here.
Okay.
Max Johnson was only sacked one time against Ole Miss. Now, he was pressured a good amount, but Texas A&M's offense you could argue that it looked the best it's ever looked against a Power 5 offense in the second half against Ole Miss. In the first 7 games before the bye week, they only had 3 fourth down conversions. In the last 2 weeks, they've gone 5 for 5. Olin was begging for the QB sneak.
He's getting it.
They're getting it, and they're scoring touchdowns off of it, so that's been an incredible thing to witness. Another positive stat, Aniyah Smith is really good. We know that. Ja'Day Walker's also really good. I think in the absence of Donovan Green, Evan Stewart, guys missing time, like got big time weapons, you're seeing a lot of players step up, which is always good to have. On the not so positive side, A&M in 3 of their 4 losses, they've featured a red zone turnover. So either that interception against Ole Miss or a missed field goal. So they need to clean that up. The turnover margin is now -3 on the year. However, right after that end zone interception, Max Johnson led A&M to their highest second half offensive output versus Power 5 opponents, which is 21 points. And he reached 300 passing yards for the first time as an Aggie.
I like it. What do we have from the text line?
From the text line, we have some negativity, which is expected. However, someone said, Jack, class of 76, said, I don't know what A&M's offensive problems are, but I theorize that Petrino is only allowed to call Jimbo's plays and nothing looks different. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't know if I completely agree with that because some plays actually look like man, what a design. They didn't execute. There we go again.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, by all means, Usted.
Oh, no, you're the expert here.
See, I don't know if I like the way you said that. I think you were trying to be funny to your people.
No, what? No. What I was going to say is you can see different play designs are actually working. They're using a lot more play action. That play action fake was absolutely incredible. It just didn't work out. And when would you ever see A&M run something like that in short yardage last year?
I think the offense is better.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, you can look at the numbers and they're better. You can also just watch it and be better. I do think there's a level of molasses at times. You're like, why is it taking so long to get this play off? Why are we running up the middle every first down or second down? Like, well, why does it look the same? But in the second half, it didn't look the same. So props to them for that.
Absolutely. David Edmond, who is always very insightful, said, am I the only one that feels like we might be cursed?
No, I've heard that many times. You're not the only one. And you know you're not the only one, Dave. Like, people have said that, but I don't really believe in sports curse. I don't. I mean, I just feel like this is the way it is until we fix it. And you got to keep going back to look. And again, when they hired Jimbo, did I think we'd be in the mix for national championships and playoffs? Yeah, I did. I did think that. But for me, it was like, I just want to be in that category. I want to be in that conversation every year. And not in that conversation on September 6th. I want to be in that conversation in November, right? As you're heading to Baton Rouge. Man, we got a chance to get invited to the playoffs. And playoffs are expanding next year. Like, let's go. We'll be one of the top 12 teams in the country. Let's freaking go. And it just seems so far away right now.
Yeah, and it's far away because they can't win close games either. 8 of their 11 losses over the last 2 years are one-score games. They're 2-8 in one-score games over the last 2 seasons.
Not good.
And you could say that in almost all of those 8 games, A&M had the ball with a chance to either tie or take the lead on the last drive of the game. And it was either a turnover or a missed field goal over these last 2 years.
Or a bad play call.
Yeah, or a bad play call, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. All right, we're going to hit a break. We'll come back with Robbie Falk, who covers Mississippi State, get his thoughts on this game. Right now, though, if you are looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, you should contact the good people there, as I speak English for the first time, at the Association of Former Students, who are looking for great professionals to join their team. The Association of Former Students is seeking to hire professionals that have openings in communications, fundraising, former student programs, campus programs, and much, much more. By the way, they're the nation's premier alumni association Association and the oldest organization supporting Texas A&M in support of that Aggie network, and they play a huge part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss out on opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies the Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, and respect. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with somebody who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/associationjobs to apply and get more information on each position. All right, we are back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's get to know Mississippi State a little bit better. Robbie Fox joined us on several occasions from Starkville Daily and, of course, 247, joining us here on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. What's going on, Robbie? How you been, bud?
Man, just trying to make it through this miserable football season right now.
You speaking for us or for you guys?
Yeah, no, it's kind of misery loves company, huh?
So, interestingly, I know some people expected Mississippi State to struggle this year for obvious reasons. I don't think they expected this kind of struggle. So, like, how would you put into words expectations / where they are? Because they did return a lot of starters. They did bring back some dudes, a little different in philosophy coaching-wise. So, like, how far away, how detached were people from the reality?
Well, I think the national media and regional media around the SEC were closer to reality than some of us. I mean, that hurts to admit. I'm a guy. I'm a realist. I'm a guy that looks at the facts, and I really believed that this would work out with Zach Arnett. I thought that, you can go back and look at my tweets. I thought that picking Mississippi State last in the SEC was a slap in the face with what they had returning. State's only finished last in the SEC once since 2009, but they've been picked there, I think, 6 or 7 times. So, I thought that people were being a little harsh to Zach Arnett, Mississippi State, but turns out those people were correct. I mean, it was right to question Zach Arnett and what he could do with this program because he's never been a head coach. And I think that we should have looked at that a little closer. We shouldn't have put as much trust as we did in Zach Arnett. But it felt like it fit. He's a guy, he's from New Mexico, but this whole time he's felt like a guy that has fit Mississippi and fit Mississippi State. He made some good hires with his staff. I thought he had the right idea, recruiting Mississippi hard, really preaching about, how many guys Mississippi's put in the NFL, Mississippi State has put in the NFL, and the money that they're making. So he just seemed like he got it. But since the games have been played, there's just been some kind of disconnect there within the program, and I can't really explain it, but he's just not who he was as a defensive coordinator. His whole personality's changed. He's a guy that just seems kind of dejected at times. So it just hasn't come to fruition for him or for Mississippi State.
Is his job in jeopardy already or no?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that there's a lot of question marks there, and a lot of boxes have not been checked since he's been the head coach. There were kind of provisions with his contract. It looks like a contract that was made by an administration that didn't have a whole lot of faith in him. There's kind of an easy out. He's not making a ton of money. It was almost like a contract that was made for an interim. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility that Mississippi State moves on after the next 3 weeks.
I think it's, and I even thought this at the time, a little coaching malpractice to completely switch your offensive system of something that has worked. Of course, I didn't expect it to be at the level that Mike Leach was coaching at, but I still think you got your guy coming back. You got several pieces of your O-line coming back. Keep it somewhat similar. Am I wrong in my assessment of it at all?
No, I mean, I kind of see both sides of that. I thought that it was okay that Zach Arnett decided to go get his own identity on the offensive side of the ball and kind of move away from the air raid identity. I get that. But at the same time, there's obviously been a huge transition for this personnel and this offense. And I don't know if it's so much that they moved away from the air raid as it is Kevin Barbay's offense. Mm-hmm. And, you guys saw the Appalachian State offense last year, and at times they were an explosive offense. Against A&M, obviously, they were kind of a ball control offense. It was an offense that I felt like coming in, it could be one of those that could build around its personnel, and Kevin Barbay just hasn't done that. And that's kind of been the biggest issue is they didn't make it simple for the personnel. They made it, Kevin Barbay's offense, and that was kind of different from what we thought it would be. I really thought he would kind of build around the guys that he has. He's tried to force, his tight end personnel in there, and he doesn't have the tight ends to run the offense. He couldn't run what he wanted to with Will Rogers. He hasn't been able to run what he needed to if Mike Wright's been at quarterback. So it's just been just a big disconnect between Barbay and the personnel that he has available to him.
What's the latest with Will Rogers?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a day-by-day thing with him. He's getting closer to playing. I don't know if he'll be ready to play this weekend, but he's been practicing for the last 2 weeks, so he hasn't been totally limited. They haven't thrown with him as often as they were, obviously, when he wasn't injured, but I think that's grown each week, and this week he's been throwing a lot more. Zach Arnett even mentioned on Monday he's been making all the throws that he usually makes. So, I think that if he can play, he probably will. That's who he is at this point. I don't think he's going to sit out if he's able to play. So we'll see. Arnett said if he is available, he will be the guy. They're not going to run with Chris Parson, who we saw late in the ball game the other night. Not going to run with Mike Wright. If he's able to play, it's going to be Will Rogers' show.
All right, so let me ask you this: how different? I know it's been a rough year, even when Will's out there. So, how different of an offense are they if Will Rogers is out there?
I don't think that they are, a great offense by any means when he's out there, but they're certainly a better offense with him. I think that's the one thing that we've learned over the last 3 weeks is Mississippi State is better with Will Rogers this year. And there's obviously a cap on some things that he can do, and there's a ceiling, but he has commanded the offense better than Mike Wright and Chris Parson both. So, the point differential is, 10, 15 points, I think, with Will Rogers on the field. So I do think that they are in better shape with him out there than not.
And considering he's done so well against Texas A&M, I bet they are trying to get him out there.
Yeah, same thing with Auburn. I mean, he had so much success against Auburn for the last 3 years. That was a big hit to not have him out there, and they only scored 13. So facing a defense like Texas A&M, you would want your best guy out there. And like you said, I mean, he's had some success, and albeit in a different offense, but obviously Mississippi State's chances are greater with Will Rogers, I think, running things.
Talk to me a little bit about their defense. It's always good with Zach Arnett. How good had they been this year, considering the offense has been so bad that they've had to be out there way more?
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously taken a huge step back, and I don't know if it's the fact that Zach Arnett's not really calling the defense anymore, or if it's, the players or what. But this just hasn't been the same defense. They haven't played with the same intensity. They haven't been as dangerous, as opportunistic. Missing Emmanuel Forbes is a big deal, first-round draft pick, one of the all-time leaders in interceptions in the SEC, and, I think the all-time FBS leader in pick sixes. So, I mean, not having him has been huge. Their secondary has been bad against the pass. They haven't got pressure up front, which I think adds to that. So that's been a big problem for them. The defense isn't the problem, but it has been a problem. But if you look at the numbers, I mean, they only gave up 17 last week against Kentucky offensively. They gave up under 300 yards. So, I mean, you can't really blame them for that. So they've shown some signs of growth in the back half of the schedule, but it's still not a defense that, Mississippi State has grown used to putting on the field.
Robbie, is this looked upon as like, this is an opportunity? Yeah, the spread is what it is, but A&M's a little banged up. They're losing games that are close. Is that the feeling like this is a winnable game, or is it like, here we go again?
I think there's some people that believe that's a winnable game. I think some of those people are eternal optimists at this point. I think most people are just kind of ready to move on. Like it's gotten to the point where, we've seen enough. And, people just don't have faith in State going into College Station and win this game. And then this has been a winnable series for Mississippi State in recent years. They've won several games. It's been kind of a back and forth. It always seems to be pretty competitive, but I just don't think people believe that they're going to come in there Saturday and win that game.
Out of curiosity, does Will Rogers still have any eligibility left? Can he come back next year?
Yeah, he can. He's got the COVID year available. I don't know what his decision is going to be there. He could decide he wants to test out the NFL. He could transfer. He could return. I don't know. But, yeah, he has that option if he wants to take it.
Wow, man. You surprised that this is where we are, these two programs at this point, considering I think what the expectations were for Mississippi State after last year and what the expectations were for A&M because of all the talent.
Yeah, I really thought that for A&M, I thought that this was finally going to be a year where, they could compete in the West. It looks like, the offense was kind of rounding into form. We felt like Bobby Petrino was going to bring a different element. The defensive line was just possibly the most talented in the country, and they've been good on defense. So, I mean, it's not like that hasn't, to me, at least on the outside looking in, hasn't been a problem as much. But yeah, I'm a little surprised by A&M not turning around. And I've been a guy that hasn't really believed in Jimbo Fisher the last few years, but I thought this would be a good year for them. For State, I'm surprised as well because I bought into Zach Arnett. I really thought that he would be successful. So you have two programs that are, not very happy with their results. A&M's had a little better year, but it's just kind of a rough point in the season, and who knows what's going to happen.
Am I going to see you here at Kyle Field on Saturday?
I won't be able to make it. I've been wanting to come to Kyle Field for years, and it just doesn't work out for me because I have Friday night high school football, and it's a tough drive. But one of these days, I'm going to make it. I've got to see Kyle Field and get that experience.
Well, appreciate your time, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah, buddy. Appreciate you.
See you,
Rob. Have a good one.
Good too. Good times. Robbie Falk there. I just said good two and then good times. That's Billy always likes to give me the business when I have some awkward comments. That one I'm going to give it to myself. All right, we do appreciate that conversation. When we come back, Ethan Jones with some stats that we can use here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's get to some stats that we can use. Ethan Jones is with us.
Yes,
and
sir.
Ethan, I got a stat for you.
Okay, please give me a stat.
Yeah, right? 20th birthday?
No.
19th.
19.
Oh, I was close.
You're close.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the stats. My birthday stat edition. We're going to focus on, well, the Ole Miss game. Bad game, disappointing loss, and I think a lot of it comes down to the secondary.
Yep.
A rough day for the secondary. And this is starting to become a trend in losses, the secondary struggling. So in losses, passing yards allowed, 295.5. In wins, we only allow 118. Completion percentage allowed in losses, 65.3. In wins, 50.8. Yards for completion allowed in losses, 15.4. In wins, 9.8. 15-plus yard completions allowed, 29 in losses and 11 in that Ole Miss game, and only 14 in wins. That's crazy. The difference between the secondary in wins and losses is really kind of what determines the game. There's also a few more stats I'm going to point out about that. In 3 of their 4 losses, Texas A&M has allowed at least 321 passing yards, 321 against Alabama, 374 against Miami, and 387 against Ole Miss. The only anomaly was Tennessee 100 yards, but they destroyed us in the run. Also, in our losses, we allowed receivers to just go off, have career days. Xavier Restrepo, Miami's receiver, had 6 receptions for 126 yards against us. Jermaine Burton had 9 receptions, 197 yards, and 2 touchdowns against us. And then Trey Harris, the Ole Miss receiver, had 11 receptions, 216 yards, and 1 touchdown. So just really bad numbers. Also, the quarterbacks go off. Jackson Dart against us had 387 passing yards, which is 2 yards less than his highest of the season, a 72.7 completion percentage, his second, and a 95.9 QBR, which is his best of the season. Jalen Milroe had 321 passing yards, which is his most of the season. The only time he's been over 300 yards, his second highest was 255. So the quarterbacks just go off against us. Tyler Van Dyke, the same thing, 374 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and 96.6 QBR, which are all his top marks of the season.
But wait, there's more. He's actually got some good stats.
I have some good stats, but we had a really good second half, which has not been common for us this season. In the 4 games before the Ole Miss game, we had major second half issues. Only averaged 4.5 points, only 154.5 yards. And then the first half in those games, we averaged 16.3 points and 183.3 yards. In the last 4 games before the Ole Miss game, we had 0 total offensive touchdowns. But in the second half of this game, we had 323 total yards, 21 points, and 21 first downs, while we only had 134 yards, 14 points, and 9 first downs in the first half. So we actually played better in the second half of the first half. And really our offense played well enough for us to win this game. Another stat that shows that, second half, we had 6.7 yards per play. First half, 4.5. Our drive progression in the second half was amazing. 70-yard drive, ended in interception in the red zone. 75-yard touchdown drive, 75-yard touchdown drive, 67-yard touchdown drive, and then that really good 46-yard drive that ended in the blocked field goal. So we really played really well in the second half, which has not been the case for us this season, which is really, really encouraging.
Yeah, encouraging. I would say to all that, those stats, it's like you flip them depending on the way they win or lose, right? So
yeah.
Offense comes up pretty big in one game, the defense doesn't. And the defense doesn't come up, vice versa. So
yeah, both sides need to play good at the same time, and that's just not happened.
What game can we say that happened?
What game can we
say that happened? Some of the lesser opponents that they played.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the lesser opponents. Ethan, happy birthday, buddy. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. So it was one of those shows. This is not going to be a cloud of negativity every time we come in this show. It just can't. We can't function like that. Well, there is some positive stuff to start focusing on, and women's and men's basketball for one, volleyball another, A&M soccer going to the tournament. So there are some things that we need to focus on and remember. And look, I know people like to hear the negative. It depends what camp you're in. But if they do win out, it doesn't silence anything. It's still not good enough. You're right. Feels better. So win this weekend against Mississippi State, a wounded team. Win against ACU, and then go shock people and go win at LSU. But one step at a time, completing some passes. Our thanks to a bunch of great guests today on the program. Jordan Pugh was awesome. Robbie Falk, Struckville Daily, he was good. Jamie McCoy, Jamie Morrison, Shireen Williams, and, of course, Olin Buchanan. Tomorrow on the program, it's a Wednesday, which means John Harris will be with us. We'll also talk to Bronny with Recruiting Country. Peter Burns will be with us as well. So that, and of course, we'll get into all your thoughts and analysis as we get closer to the game on Saturday and A&M Hoops. Thursday, you got the women's side playing, and Friday at Ohio State. So a lot to get into. It's TexAgs Radio here on a Tuesday. Forgot the date. We'll see you mañana.